Well, a very good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to our third installment of Le Mans Ultimate here on the Creator Series. After heading both to Spa-Francorchamps and Bahrain, the outer version, we turn our attention this time to one of the oldest racetracks and one of the most complicated racetracks, some would argue, in the American Northwest. We are not the Northwest, Northeast. We're great. We've started well. Anyway, moving on, we're heading to Sebring, everybody. I'm looking forward to it. My name's Tom Knight, take you through the next couple of hours of racing action. Alongside me, a close friend and one of the best in the business who's been with you on this journey so far, Mr. Carl Paranik, everybody. Carl, third installment of Le Mans Ultimate here in the Creator Series. How are we looking forward to it?
Oh, so much. So much. I think Le Mans Ultimate has constantly delivered so far. And yes, it's a bit of a different kind of perspective of racing if you're used to some of our other variations of motorsports that we host on the Creator Series. But Le Mans Ultimate is just a completely different ballgame. We saw it last time, some of the drivers evolving their pace, but then it's ultimately that consistency and also that management in terms of the virtual energy. That's the big thing we've got to watch out for. The end of the world as we know it for Cream 70, but I feel fine personally. It's going to be brilliant. Sebring, what a track. And also, one-time Formula One venue. That's pretty fun.
It certainly is. And yeah, who can forget that we technically went there, many moons ago now? And obviously an old airfield many will talk about during the Second World War, very similar to the likes of Thruxton and Silverstone that have their heritage dating back to those days of old. But we look forward to getting into this racing, and do not fear, it may be a completely different game, or at least one that we've only done a couple of times before, but you are in for your usual dose of Creator Series chaos shenanigans and maybe a few quips along the way.
Oh, for sure. Couldn't agree more with you. It's a beautiful day for Le Mans Ultimate, ladies and gentlemen. But I think the main thing is we've seen some cracking racing, to be honest with you. In both classes, of course. GT3's been a common fixture. I think the GT3 racing in Le Mans Ultimate is almost unrivaled in terms of the experience. It's absolutely supreme. And then we had the hypercars in round one at Belgium, the LMP2s at the outer layout of Bahrain. However, it's slightly different. We have unrestricted LMP2s for Sebring, which is all very enticing indeed. We've had two different race winners as well in classes gone by. We've had Alex Lynham and Ryan L83 in the GT3 side, Taco Man and Tom Biener in the respective top categories. Will it be 3 for 3? Can somebody else take a bit of history with them tonight?
That'll be the question I think everybody's asking. I did hear on the down low, and this is hush, hush, whisper, whisper, that Alex was asking Ryan to jump up to the LMP2 category because he didn't want his crown taken away from him, following on from Bahrain. Ryan, of course, refused and is racing in the GT3s today, but by his own dictatorate, he's decided to race in the worst balanced GT3 car here at Sebring, so of course, naturally, he's running the Corvette. Everybody else being the typical bop tourist that we'll see. Typically, the BMW seems to be the fastest out of any of those. A few driving the Mustang. Shout out to Scotty Designs, by the way. Of course, he, as the old phrase goes, lives by the Stang or dies by the Stang.
Absolutely. No, exactly. We've got interesting. Here we are, Sebring, ladies and gentlemen. This is your format for tonight, as you can see on your screens. Practice times, qualifying times, and then race times. If you can't read the title, we've given you a 3-letter word to send you on your way. But that is the format for tonight. All very interesting. The flow of Sebring is absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. Just wonderful. You've got that whole complex at the end of the lap as well. That sweeping right-hander. Both extremely satisfying, but very easy to squander as well. Very easy for the car to become extremely unbalanced. We've just had practice, and well, the news of the day is that Ryan L83 might have gone for the unbalanced Corvette, but he's fastest by nearly a second.
It certainly is looking like a dull day to be anyone other than Ryan L83 here at the moment. And you were talking about that complex at the final corner through Sunset Bend, as it's called. Quite possibly one of the most beautiful corners on a circuit, arguably. And yes, Europeans, I'm talking about any circuit that you host there, just because the nature and the flow that it delivers through it as well. But actually, one thing our drivers will really have to watch out for today is it's a very unusual pit entry and exit here, the wet layout for Sebring. If you don't know the circuit, traditionally the pit lane is down the start-finish straight. You'll come out just at the exit of turn 1. However, due to when this game was set up, IMSA was racing at Sebring at the same time. So they decided to use the alternate pits, which basically heads off just before the Le Mans curve, and you actually exit the pits before you even get to Sunset. So it's a bit of an off-kilter one here at Sebring for the World Endurance Championship. Will our drivers maybe fall foul to that?
They might well do, to be honest with you. it is entirely possible. Qualifying well underway, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at the BMW number 46. Can't quite tell who it is because there's a bunch of people running the number 46. The answer is, it is...
Bimex.
It's Bimex. There he is. Number 46. No need to call the doctor. This qualifying will not be down tempo. Through the left-hander he goes. It's all about ramping up the confidence. They'll leather the energy into the car, make sure they have enough energy to do as many laps as possible, but also gain that confidence. There's Razin Chai in the LMP2, man that got pole position at Belgium, looking to repeat the feat potentially here today. That is the game plan.
Absolutely, Ryan. Just being cautious on their outlaps. No tyre warmers to aid the drivers getting their rubber up to temperature. And whilst the track temperature is looking quite nice, about 22 degrees in the air at the moment, the grip looking around 27, 28 degrees in terms of track temperature. As you can see at the top of your screens, they're very lovingly put up the forecast. They have got to, step a little bit tentatively in the opening runs until that rubber starts to grip up on the circuit, and then they can go hell for leather and get some push runs in.
For sure. No, I couldn't agree more with you. Completely bone dry as well. So no conundrums in terms of the weather as well. All the time to just dwell in the outstanding, optimal conditions. Razin leathering that car through, already looking to find confidence. Even on your outlap, you want to push the limits. You want to find out just how much the car has to give, how much you might have to give. The track limits here. Take as much of the white lines as possible. Massive exit curb. Then it's just warming up those tyres. You're going to make your way round that long sunset bend and then begin over the start-finish line, which rather poetically, it's called The Line, but it will be Razin Chai to take us on a little sightsee of Sebring.
Absolutely right. A cautious last turn for Razin Chai. You've got to be careful with the LMP2 cars. They're a little bit unnerving when you first get them going, but trust me, once those tyres are up to temperature, they are an easy lover. They just want to go fast. They want to fly through each and every corner on this circuit. And given that it's an old airfield, it's pretty much as fast as a pancake. So, Razin Chai at the moment, you can see just breaking his way in towards the chicane after turn 2 doesn't really have a name at the moment. And then through Gurney Bend and towards the hairpin, which is a very important corner to get right, as it sets up that back straight through Cunningham, through Collier, and down towards Tower.
Leather the throttle, absolutely put the foot to the floor, and then you brake as late as you damn well dare for the hairpin. Easy to block the brakes up, easy to sail on straight, but no problems at all as El Busiv goes fastest in GT3. This is all just outlap times. Those times will flood down thick and fast. Something to note as well, in amongst our field of wonderful competitors today, we have George Morgan, who currently sits P10 in the GT3 class. He's running in the McLaren, looking to put a strong showing on for the commentary team. Meanwhile, in the LMP2 class, you have a certain driver called Marcel Kiefer. We also have Michi Hoyer. Both of them are running ballast here today. I believe it's about 50 kilos, so a little bit of a hindrance in terms of their overall pace, but in the art of balance, it is absolutely necessary.
Absolutely. They've been given that ballast penalty just to try and make it a little bit more even. No drivers necessarily complained about the fact that they were coming into race, but I think it is just trying to be that balancing act to make sure that everything is as fair as possible. And to give some context, I appreciate 50 kilos might not sound like something you can visualize, right? Imagine like a medium-aged teenager just sat in the passenger seat. That's what they've got to deal with over the entire 2.4 hours, and it will give them a little bit longer lap times. They try and slug that car around the circuit, especially on full fuel. It's Benjamin Hurd that goes fastest then at the moment in the LMP2 category. That's going to be Safso, immediately taken away by Razin Chai at 51.3. Now we start to see the times ramping up, and I'm really looking forward to here, Carl. Obviously, we've seen some of the default liveries that are within Le Mans Ultimate and the World Endurance Championship. I can't wait to see some of the liveries that some of our creators have come up with. I know Ryan's running a custom one. I know Grid Jokes has got quite possibly the best livery on the grid here today.
Oh, we've got some phenomenal firecrackers to look at in that department. Here's Grid Jokes, the man in question, and that is absolutely terrifying. You've got Pondon, you've got, I believe, Checo Perez, and one other, I think it's Luke Sam.
Luke Sam.
Trying to phone in on. Alex Lynham goes fastest in the GT3 class for now, but that is absolute class on the front of that LMP2 car. Two Creator Series champions, though, at the top of the LMP2 tree. Razin Chai and Safso, separated by less than 0.2 of a second. Nebraw's not far off either, but expect those times to come down quicker and quicker and quicker as we go, as the rear end of that McLaren got very tail happy for a second for George Morgan, taking the wide approach through Sunset Bend. as Twilight descends on the first flying lap for the McLaren. Of course, they will go again, but across the line goes George Morgan, a 2-minute 7.5, but plenty of time for that to be whittled away.
Good lap so far from George to try and get himself covered. That's going to be Scipio, who's managed to find his way in towards the grass. Not quite sure where he's managed to take a little bit of a breather, as we've got 20 minutes or so left in our qualifying session. No, that's not 20 minutes left. That's qualifying. It's 8 and a bit minutes. That's the local time at the top of your screens. I've been absolutely bamboozled by the overlay. First time that I've seen it in a while. But 20 past 7 local time here in the US of A, as we watch Marcel Kiefer heading out for their first outlap of the afternoon. Saffso again goes fastest, though, a 150.5. So the first driver into the point, well, the 50s make that the 48s for Razin Chai, as he does a 48.1.
Absolutely flying. That's a phenomenal lap time. Austrian Andy looking to try and compete with it. It's going to get nowhere near it. Massive slide. That's the crux of Sunset Bend. You ask too much of the car, the bumps in the track, the rear end will completely complain. And Austrian Andy does live to fight on another day, which is good news. Has to be careful with a rejoin. Flash of the lights, and no harm done. We go back to the action. Nebwell's had a bit of a moment. Brief yellow flag as he enters the pit lane. Easy to miss it, easy to squander it, but he's done fine there. In the LMP, in the GT3 case, Ryan 83 has got a purple Sector 1, a green Sector 2. It's competitive. It could be very close to the fastest time in the Corvette. Across the line goes Ryan 83 and it's fastest. A 2-minute 1.5. That's a second quicker than any other GT3. El Bousif quickly reduces the arrears, but that's the benchmark.
0.6 of a second then, the gap between Littlemore and Bousif as it stands at the moment. Michi Hoyer, rather unsurprisingly, purple in the first sector in accordance to anyone else, and I think he is going on a bit of a slowdown run, just getting himself prepped and ready. You see another LMP2 car just flying on by. That was Grid Joke's car, rather easily identifiable on the circuit. And a lot of these drivers have been sat when this got first announced, I think about a week ago now, discussing what car they're going to take and figuring out the best one to run. You can see a lot of BMWs out there, a couple of McLarens, some Fords, none others, no pink bikinis, unfortunately, but they'll all have been sat there just waiting for the weekend, waiting for this moment to come around, because again, it's an early shot at, well, some easy victories, isn't it?
Game's gone, honestly. No pink bikinis and devastating.
Honestly.
I feel like we've been beaten black and blue, but we're watching Razin Chai go even faster at a 147.4. Now we're seeing those times be absolutely obliterated behind him. The gap currently a second. I'm impressed with Ricky, by the way. Ricky 03 now sits in P5 because Grid Jokes, with the curse livery, moves into P3. All kinds of conundrums almost as we see a Mustang go sliding lazily in the background. It's Sparks that will cross the line, though. Move up to P5, 2 minutes 3.2. No slouch at all there.
Certainly not at all. We've still got just over 6 minutes left in qualifying. And if you're, well, first brand new to World Endurance Racing, or at least Le Mans Racing, you're questioning probably why everybody's out there at the same time. And the simple answer is, why not? Funny. That's probably the best answer we can give you. It is hilarious to see GT3 cars going side by side with LMP2 cars, whilst they're all respectively trying to set the fastest lap they possibly can. Marcel Kiefer being held up by Grid Jokes. We've got a car off just the left-hand side there. Not quite sure who that was, but Marcel Kiefer at the bottom. He's 17th in standing at the moment. Alex Lydham now goes fastest, a 2-minute 1.550 in the LMGT3 category. But we still run on board with Marcel. He's green in first and now second sector as he rounds into what will be the back straight before, the all-man straight before Sunset Bend. And you can see the pit boxes just off to the right-hand side where our drivers will make their way to get their mandatory pit stops done. And then you exit right about there into the path of Sunset Bend. So, Carl, I'm going to make an early prediction here. I think we'll see some chaos amongst the best laid plans.
I completely agree with you, but that's all part of the challenge as well. It's exactly what we want to see. LMP2s against those GT3s. Marcel Kiefer's first time is a 155.7. Still warming up those tyres, still getting used to that ballast on the car. Razin sets the benchmark even lower, though, at a 47.3. He's leaving no stone unturned, giving the rest of the grid a massive headache. Grid Jokes with a brief yellow flag, but that's just him entering the pit lane. No harm, no foul. And, well, Huben crosses the line. Nick Huben, there's a Michi Hoyer goes fastest. And that's with ballast as well, a 46.6. Hello. Somebody's woken up. That's a firecracker of a time.
That is simply stunning from Michi Hoyer. We knew he was quick in these LMP2 cars. Of course, the European Le Mans Series being the unrestricted LMP2 cars as well, and showing once again why he is renowned for being as quick as he can be. So he tops Chai at the moment by a considerable margin, just over 0.6 of a second, closer in fact to 0.7 of a second between the two up at the top. But it is still purple sector 3 for Nick Hoban, running in third place at the moment. We watch Chris Wood here. That's Chesnoid Gaming making his way around the final corner, avoids the bump quite nicely and also avoids the barrier, which is going to be very easy just to smack a little wheel into. Comes across the line and will go up to 10th in class. That is 25th overall, just pipping out George Morgan at the moment.
Michi is going even faster. He set another purple sector one at 39.9. That is an interstellar time to set the benchmark out. A little bit down in sector 2 though, as he's just trying to push the limits a little bit more. Put pole position beyond doubt. That is the name of the game. Saying to the rest of the grid, keep on walking. You are not getting close to pole position tonight. It is the straight. It is foot flat to the floor. It is maximum attack at Sunset Bend. And how much do you dare to push the limits even more? We've already seen a couple of people come a cropper at this corner. Seems so easy, yet it's deceptively difficult. As again, another car round on the left-hand side. Michi Hoyer finds the limit absolutely divinely. And across the line, will it be an improvement? Yes! Minute margins, but it's a 46.5. He continues to set the pace further and further to the top.
Two drivers to keep an eye on here as well is going to be both Alex Lynham and Ryan Littlemore. Both set a purple first sector. As Ryan Littlemore that did it first, it's now Alex Lynham who goes faster in the first sector as well. So pushing that BMW M4 GT3 to its absolute limits here at the moment. It was a yellow second sector in the end for Ryan Littlemore, but Alex wanting to try and secure his place at the top with 2.5 minutes left in session. A lot of our drivers running low on virtual energy, especially in the GT3 categories. Of course, there's no virtual energy within the LMP2 class. But we'll watch here with Ryan Littlemore. He will be the first driver of the two to come around Sunset Bend. It's not been an improvement necessarily in the first and second. Maybe the telemetry lied to me in the end and it wasn't a purple first for Ryan, but up towards the line. Can he try and go faster than his previous best? Not this time around. So Alex Lynham has got pretty much a straight shot at goal at the moment as he runs down the all-man straight through towards Sunset Bend. He will have an NMP2 car catching up to him, but not quite enough yet. Can he keep it cool, calm and collected as he heads around this final corner? The question on everybody's mind is, can Alex Lynham retake or rehold the place at the top? At the moment, it's by bare margins. It's just 30 hundredths of a second. As he crosses the line, he does go faster. Or does he? I don't know.
I'm trying to work it out. I don't know, Jeff, has he?
I don't know, Jeff.
He's still got pole position for the time being. It was two purple sectors. Whether the timing's just having a bit of a moment, I'm not sure. I think Ryan sacrificed his lap, though. He just let an LMP2 through, just to then have the slipstream a little bit down the straight to see if he could find that ultimate improvement. He's 200ths down on what Alex did in the first sector, but it is very, very close indeed. In other news, Tom Bina, he's been quietly going about his business. He's currently P9. Fabio also in P7. Both of them making small but sure gains in this qualifying session as Davide causes a yellow flag in the LMP2s. Busiv then subsequently causes a yellow flag in GT3s. Behind him, Ethan Walker, E-Walker on Twitch. He's in P4, not that far away from a provisional top 3, as we are surveying Tom Bina, making his way towards Sunset Bend. One final corner to traverse, and hopefully a rampant improvement.
Tom Bina absolutely loves the LMP2 cars. He's got Team Tom on the livery, one of the most striking liveries you'll probably see today as he comes around that final corner, nailing it to the nth degree. Up towards the line, where can he go? It'll be 9th fastest overall in the LMP2 category. I've got a bit of an assumption here as what happened to F1 Alex last time around. I'm going to assume it might have been an invalid run through that third and final sector, which is why time didn't come up for us. But again, he's gone purple in the first and second as he makes his way through. Razin Chai will begin their opening and quite possibly final attempt at taking pole position away from Michi Hoyer. Sparks in the garage, and with only 4 seconds left on the clock here, Ryan Littlemore goes fastest. Everybody else, it's time to take a chance.
Alex Lynham, what can he do? Nothing is the answer. Alex Lynham's session is done. Pit lane, Ryan L83 at the death takes pole position for the GT3 class. Rasin Chai has one final attempt to try and prize pole position away from Michi Hoyer, and he's not made his way through that first sector split. He's 17 thousandths of a second up. He's going to have to do a lot more than that to challenge. That's half a second down almost on what Michi Hoyer did, and bearing in mind, that was with ballast.
Absolutely right. It's going to be interesting. In 13th place, though, That's where we're looking. Marcel Kiefer, that's where he is. With that ballast, he couldn't find himself higher. He has gone green in the first sector, so personal best for him, but not necessarily the fastest out of anybody in the session, but he is back in the garage, so will not improve at this time of asking. We keep on board with Razin Chai. This is where he started to put the pressure on. It's purple in the second sector, and you can see the nighttime starting to draw even more further and further in. How much commitment will he have on the brakes, on the throttle, as he tries to navigate the car now out of Le Mans curve, down the Allman straight? Just one more corner, but the most perilous on this circuit to try and navigate, reaching up to 200 and nearly 80 clicks an hour in towards the right-hander. He's got to try and keep it planted. Pole position almost guaranteed to be resting on this now. A little dab of the throttle through the exit of the final corner. He'll run up towards the line. Can he beat off a 46.5? I don't think he's going to do it. No, it's a 47.1. It will be Michi Hoyer starting on pole position. Razin Chai misses out by a margin.
With the ballast as well. Michi Hoyer, that was an absolutely astonishing lap from you, my friend. Fantastic effort. Ryan 83 is going faster even, just to rub salt in the wound. Purple in Sector 2. He could go even faster here to go even further down into the depths of the 2-minute 1 lap times. Does he do it? Yes, he does. 2 minutes 1.338. Left, right, good night. It's an uppercut to the rest of class from Ryan L83. And these are your results in qualifying. First of all, in LMP2, Michi Hoyer from Razin Chai and Nick Huben with Nebwall in P4, Ricky 03 in P5 with Infratic 6th, Alex Can't Drive, Davide, Tombina, and then Safso rounds out the top 10.
Absolutely. And then 11th down to 16th place is Arthur Martin, Daniel Gridjokes, is Marcel Kiefer, Davide, Jay Marsh, that's going to be yours sincerely, and Austrian Andy to round out the LMP2s. It's a good day to be a Ryan Littlemore fan as he takes pole in the LMGT3s. Stefan Alex that will start second on the second row with Boosive Motorsport and E. Walker starting from fourth.
For the rest of the GT3 class, Sparks YT in P5 with Fimex in P6, Devin Allen in P7 with Formula Momo in P8, Chesnoid Quest, George Morgan, Tukey, Terrell Alexander did not have a great qualifying session in the LMP2s, but then Scotty Designs, by the way, didn't even set a lap, but he's just giving everyone else a chance, don't worry.
Absolutely. The Mustang will like to purr here at Sebring, and one that I'm sure when he gets into race trim, he'll be one of the most balanced cars on the circuit. Getting news as well from the pit lane. Nick Holman, as we were talking about him earlier, Nick 95, which checks out. I couldn't quite put 2 and 2 together, but there we go. Nick 95 Gaming, or Nick 95, if you want to try and call him that, is who lines up in third place for the LMP2 field here at the moment. We've got the short formation lap, just the run down the Allman straight and through Sunset. And of course, we mentioned here, Carl, if anybody wants to start from pit lane, they start at least 1, if not technically 2 corners behind.
Yeah, that's a conundrum they've got to play with. So they don't really want to be doing that. They better have their wits about them. A lot of them flocking onto the track, knowing exactly what the score is. For those of you wondering, why on earth Marcel Kiefer's in P13? He ran basically full virtual energy. There was a lot more than just the ballast at play in terms of the context of the session for the German former F1 esports / sim racing driver. Rolling start can begin. Just for the context, on the front row, on the right, you see now transitioning to the left is Michi Hoyer. On the right will be Razin Chai in the green machine. For the GT3s, it's the 2 protagonists of that class. It's Ryan L83 and F1 Alex. That is the dynamic duels that are happening at the start of this race, but expect that all to change. There's a long way to go in 2.4 hours. So as they round Sunset Bend, TK, we are in for a stunning spectacle at Sebring.
We certainly are. Do not change that dial. Do not change how you're sitting, because you are going to be comfortable for the next 2.4 hours as they round Sunset Bend, which will inevitably be coveted by a beautiful sunset here at Sebring. They run up towards the line and await starters' orders. They're in formation. It's 2x2. It's Noah's Ark as we run up towards the line.
And out for the green, ladies and gentlemen. When it goes, there's the green flag. Tukey's already got a 10-second time penalty, but we are underway. And immediately, a fantastic start from Razin Chai, who runs rings round the outside. Quickly followed by Nick Huben. Michi Hoyer's been mugged in an instant. Down 2 places in Fratic. Where on earth did he come from? That's a scorching start from the Portuguese man of war. As Michi Hoyer with the ballast is dropping places like a brick. Alex can't drive. Briefly, Meek has an off-track excursion. Safso and Tombina fighting out behind us. More cars losing their groove in the background. At the moment, though, Racing Chai followed by Infratic. It's Safso who completely lost it. At the exit of the left-hander, through the gurney bend they go to the hairpin turn. For the first time, how much confidence do you have in the brakes at that first time when you don't know how much warmth and how much temperature you have in the tyres? The confidence in the car, they still run side by side. Does grid jokes against, I'm tempted to say, possibly Marcel Kiefer. What a battle for the ages that is. Late on the brakes goes Marcel, and that's the difference there. Fantastic little manoeuvre.
Absolutely stunning racing to kick off what will be a superstitious endeavour in Sebring, but it's bad news if you're a netball fan. He started almost certainly from pit road or had an accident right off the very start, as he's dropped down to 17th in class, 29th out of 30th overall. He only is in front of Scotty Designs at the moment, so he's got the entire LMGT3 field in front of him. As things stand, I think he might be still trying to figure some things out, but up at the front, it is just, well, business as usual for the majority of drivers. Both orange LMP2 cars on your screen at the moment. It's both Tombina and, of course, Marden as well, battling their way down towards Sunset Bend for the very first time, averaging about 2 minutes a lap here. You can see Tombina just going a little bit, well, later on the turn and trying to open up the corner as much as he possibly can. And there's a spin in the background. Who's that that's got off? I think that might be yours sincerely who's dropping down the order. It is indeed. And that's Salford. Don't hit the wall or just avoid, but here comes the GT3 traffic. Collision with the BMW. Collision with the BMW again. And that surely is a race-ending accident for yours sincerely.
Two for the price of one. It's Roulette Road. It's Fimex that got caught up in that. And I think Sparks, no, it must have been E-Walker. E-Walker, the other BMW, potentially caught up in it. Ryan 83 with no such conundrums. He's carrying on his way. Don't think it disrupted E-Walker that much because he's all over the back of Mr. Busiv. Up ahead, showing the nose to the inside, trying to pile on the pressure. Racing Chai's in P1, but Fabio in Fratix moved up to P2 in all of the chaos that was happening at Sunset Bend. As we look at the back of Ryan 83, that's the gap so far. Over a second. What a scorching start he's had again. But Fabio up to P2 and piling on the pressure.
It's the double axe at the front of the LMP2 field. It's Razin Chai, it's Infratic. It's a tale as old as time here for drivers to get yourselves accustomed with. Two drivers that know each other very well over the courses of the F1 season, and once again a meeting here at Sebring. They've done their practice, they've run their due diligence here at the circuit, and now it's all out warfare. Fabio trying to still stick onto the back of Razin Chai, who had, well, let's just say a race to forget somewhat back at Spa, had a bit of an improvement, shall we say, at Bahrain, but here at Sebring, he is looking for nothing short of spectacular as we head in towards sunset.
Indeed. Hunker up into the slipstream. The Portuguese man of war versus the Creator Series champion. One-time Creator Series champion. And look at the difference in racing line. Fabio taking it nice and narrow. Razin opting for that later cut-in. Trying to use the momentum early doors. And, well, you pay the price early on, but you gain it all back again on the start-finish straight. That's the art of defense as the fastest laps come raining in. Tombina, the fastest driver on the track, currently in P7. In terms of Marcel Kiefer's progress, he's already up to P11 and underneath a second away from Davier DeCipio in P10.
So while Kiefer's making progress, we've got to talk about Hoyer dropping down the order from race start. I'm going to assume that's purely to do with the ballast that he's running in the car at the moment, and you can just tell how slow and sluggish he was off the line. Wasn't necessarily on tyres that he felt he could commit to at the moment, as we see the LMGT3s cross the line for what will be the second time of this race so far. Ryan Littlemore setting the fastest lap of a 2:02.504. Does he somehow try to pick the worst car here, Carl, and ended up with the fastest car that exists at the moment in Sebring?
Do you know what? Honestly, goated strategy from Ryan 83. That's all I'm going to say. He's played an absolute blinder then. Meanwhile, in the commentary box, we need a holiday. Already. It's only been 5 minutes of racing. We can confirm Marsh is out of the race. So that is Jay Marsh, who was in the LMP2 car, out already after only 5 minutes. Absolutely gutting for the man in the FO5 Esports GT3 team. Up at the front, crossing over the 5-minute barrier already. Feels like we've been 15 rounds. But it's the protagonist at the front. Oh, hello. Big battling as Ricky 03 And Arthur Marden, who was all over the back of Tom Biener, so has lost out somewhere in a big way, already putting up the gloves and trying to battle. It's going to be side by side, a drag race down to Sunset Bend between the Orange Warrior on the right-hand side, well, now on the left-hand side, it's Ricky 03 on the right of your screen. So they're going to run side by side through Sunset Bend. Do they dare to hold it? The narrow line wins out, and that'll be a position gain for Arthur Marden, but he's got to be careful. Ricky can retaliate into turn 1.
He certainly can. He'll get the slipstream in towards this first corner. The French flag flying on that car. He just looks to the inside, but I don't think he wants to commit. It's not traditionally you want to try a place that you want to try and send a move. Your better bet is wait till you're out of turns 2. Make your way through Gurney Bend and in towards the hairpin. That's such a traditional place to be able to send it, and you work your way through Fangio up towards Cunningham Corner, and that's where you can really start to pull away at the exit of Tower. If you time your move right about, well, right in the terms of the circuit. Although, I mean, we have to talk about it. It's always sad to see a driver crash out this early, and if you are a Yours Sincerely fan, well, it might be the end of the world as we know it.
Exactly. George Morgan as well. It says garage on our telemetry. That is absolutely devastating. I don't know what's happened to our man flying the flag in commentary corner, but it is the worst possible start to proceedings. Meanwhile, Nebwall, he's making progress. He's gradually making his way through the through the GT3 traffic, excuse me. In P21 overall in the field, still a mountain to climb. There he is, the man in the green machine, already passing. That is Sparks YT. In the McLaren car has got E-Walker next up the road. He's been piling on the pressure bit by bit. Gaps have stabilised. However, Ryan L83, if he thought he was going to have it all his own way, not today, sir. Because Alex Lynham is now almost within half a second, and it's getting tantalising.
It certainly is. Grip onto those seats. Hold where you're sitting, because you were only... Carl, we're only about, what, 10, 15 minutes into this race. We've got over 2 hours still to go. And all of our drivers are only just getting accustomed to racing in big packs. We still await the LMP2s to start coming through the LMGT3 field. And that in itself will bring a whole other host of chaos conundrums and questions to be answered, let alone, and this is one thing that we sort of teased earlier on, as the sun begins to set in Sebring, that will bring its own complete different element, because Sebring, if you aren't aware, doesn't have circuit floodlights, so they are going to be relying entirely on the headlights on the cars, and one that you really have to try and navigate through the traffic when the visibility is minimal, to say the best.
Nick Hooven, meanwhile, is setting up the manoeuvre. Mr. N95 putting a bit of ka-chow and pizzazz on the rear end of Fabio's car up ahead. Piling on the pressure. Razin's found his mojo, as has Michi Hoyer, actually. In fairness, he's 1 minute 48.8. Was about 4 tenths faster than the cars ahead. That is courtesy of the battling as well, disrupting their rhythm. So he's being brought back into the fight. He is finding that consistency again. Interesting to note as well that Michi is using less battery and energy at the moment than those ahead. Razin and Fabio, about 4% energy every 3 laps. Michi Hoyer underneath that threshold at the moment. So there is strategy at play. Meanwhile, Marcel Kiefer, he's done waiting around, shows the nose to the inside. Look at the complete confidence in the brakes. And then caught up in the background, that's Ricky 03, who catches the rear end of Davide De Scipio. Wrong place, wrong time, slight misjudgment. Doesn't get the car into the line of fire, is well within his rights to regain the track. But unfortunate early on. Still plenty of time though, 2 hours, 16 minutes. You do not need to give up. Do not throw in the towel yet, my friend.
As someone that has been involved in a lap 1 accident and spent almost just over 2 hours trying to chase back to the field, it can be done and it will be done. And Ricky 03 is one of those drivers that has the mentality to try and drive to the nth degree. We've got some information coming through as well with George Morgan. I believe he had a PC or a systems crash, which had led him back to the garage. Thankfully, he hasn't DNF'd. I believe his car is back out there, albeit 3 laps down. So a millimetric task on the hands of George Morgan to try and get back into this. I think it is just going to be a case of surviving for the next 2 and a bit hours, making sure you pick up some free positions and hoping some chaos happens in and around you, because I can't see you unlapping yourself once, if not twice or thrice.
Exactly, but I think that's the beauty of endurance racing as well, in terms of the blue flags meaning something completely different for those of you that are maybe long-time F1 Creator Series viewers and don't know much about endurance racing. The blue flags mean something completely different here, as through blazes past the lean green machine, past George Morgan, of course the LMP2 and GT3 difference, visualised before your very eyes. But the main thing is, is that blue flags in endurance racing just mean there's a faster car behind you. Take care. It doesn't mean you can't race them. So while he is down and out for the count in terms of laps behind, he can still have some fun out there. He can still have some good racing, and that's exactly what he'll be hoping for.
Absolutely, and I'm sure when he starts to catch up to the back of the pack, albeit if he's a lap down, he'll probably have some good racing with Scotty. I know Scotty's down in, I believe, 12th place in the LMGT3 field at the moment, along with Tukey in 11th, so lots of drivers in and around that field as Ryan Littlemore once again setting the fastest lap time of anybody in the LMGT3 field at 2:02.3, and that's Fabio taking a little bit of an alternate route round Sebring. Thankfully for him, it's flat and he's teleported back to the garage. Fabio has been confirmed to be a magician, everybody. He is back to the pits in a blink of an eye.
He's absolutely thrown in the towel. It's devastating news to see. He's dropping down the order rapidly, though. He's down to P11 on our telemetry. So there has been a massive, massive problem for Infratic, who has turned into a building. That's talent in and of itself. And before you say that's a really unfunny joke, I think keep that to yourself. 2 hours, 13 minutes left to go. Fabio's had a massive moment. Rasin Chai leads. He's now got 1.2 seconds between himself and Nick Huben, which is probably not what he was hoping for, because Nick Huben is a couple attempts faster per lap. You can start to reel him in. Mishi Hoyer still not quite finding that pace. That is most definitely courtesy of the ballast. He's 2.5 seconds behind P2 on the road. Davide still right on his case, as we see the battle between Riccio 3 and Terrell Alexander. The pink machine shows the nose to the inside, an aggressive dart to try and throw Ricky off the scent of holding P13. Not to be, though. The Italian stallion, he's a wily old fox.
He certainly is. It might not be a pink bikini, but we can support the pink car nonetheless. TAA, as he's more commonly known, TAA all day over on Twitch. If you don't drop a follow, go drop him a follow. Very lovely individual, and probably one of the most funny people that I've ever met. It does give you a good laugh when you go and watch him race. And what at the moment, trying to chase down slightly further forward. He's got some inside information as well. Fabio, oh no, that's a spin. No, I jinxed him. Oh no.
Oh, Terrell Alexander, my heart sinks for you, my friend. Whether it's on the screen, whether it's on the radio, it's devastations across all mediums as we look to the purple machine. That is Davide. Again, piling on the pressure on Mishi Hoyer. Elsewhere in the order, though, we're looking at energy proceedings. Safso's got the most energy out of anybody in the LMP2 side of things that hasn't been into the garage or had a massive, massive moment. Just over 3/4 battery. As to the inside, just overtaking some lap traffic, is Davide using that narrow line again. We saw Fabio do that earlier to try and just close in on Rasin Chai. Any pressure you can put on is positive pressure, but you do slightly bear the burden onto the straight. Into the slipstream of the GT3 car we go, and over the line once again to start another lap here at Sebring. Rasin leads by 2.3 seconds now over Nick Huben. It's been a great little stint of consistency for Rasin Chai, and then followed by Mishi Hoyer, Davide in P4. Alex can't drive, tell you what, he is moving wheel today. He currently sits P5, holding Tombina by about a second at the moment, and Marcel Kiefer is now up to P8. Don't scratch your eyes, he's making proper progress out there.
He absolutely is. One to always watch out on the racetrack, whether that be open wheel and or closed wheel, and that's Grid Jokes, just trying to make the most of Scipio's mistakes. A little bit of a kick out there for the rear of the LMP2 car, and some more information coming through for Fabio. He was aura farming so much up within the top two that someone had to step in and, I believe, either kill his internet or his power off. I can't tell which, but let's just say his stream ended at the same time as his race did. So his race today can be described in 3 words: snakes and ladders.
Indeed. This is no simple game to play, endurance racing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a game of consistency. It's a game of picking your battles, because it is a long, old race. It's not absolute overtaking all the way. You need to have a certain element of reservation about the way you drive. If you don't get the move done, if there is a faster car out in front of you, let them carve through the traffic. Let them help you out, because there's every chance you learn something. If you're Grid Jokes, though, and you know you can follow Davide De Scipio within an inch of his life, you absolutely want to make the move happen, with Pondon staring down the diffuser of another car, which is not a sentence I thought I'd say on Creator Series in all of my history. 2 hours, 10 minutes to go. And El Busim is the fastest GT3 car out there. 2 minutes, 2.316. A mere matter of hundredths faster than Ryan L83, but he is closing in rapidly on F1 Alex.
He is certainly living by the Ford, as the old phrase goes at the moment, trying to chase down the front two. And he is starting to reel in Alex Lynham, F1 Alex, for those who have heard the name before. The Ford's starting to come into its own a little bit as we keep an eye on the energy as well, up and down the field. One thing to note here is Chesnoid Gaming, Ches Wood, who's running in 9th place in the LMGT3 field, started on considerably less virtual energy than the rest of the field here, Carl. And one thing that I'm maybe trying to figure out here, is he going for that initial splash and dash at the early stage as opposed to going for a full stint here? Are we learning some fuel saving maths from Chesnoid Gaming, like 1 + 1 = 2?
Quite possibly, honestly. If it means you have that offset, if you think you can do the same amount of stops and get to the end of the race anyway, and have that faster car at your disposal, you might as well give it a go. As we look behind Grid Jokes now, who's got ahead of Davide Discipio, up into P9, Davide demoted down to P10. This is the order after 15 minutes of racing at Sebring. Racing Chai leads by just over 2 seconds from Nick Huben. Michi Hoyer is well within a second of the N95 team racing car in P2, with Davide not far behind. Alex Can't drive in P5, Tom Biener in P6, with Arthur Marden, Marcel Kiefer in P8, Grid Jokes in 9th, and Davide Discipio just at the background of shots in P10.
Absolutely right. Just keep an eye at the top out of your screens as well for that time in session. Next we got a yellow flag. That's going to be Federico Garcia. That's Ricky 03, who had a bit of a moment there. That's going to be the driver just getting past him by the name of Benjamin Hurd. That's also going to be Safso, who just managed to drop their way past. Now, I wonder if there's a little bit of an incident or maybe some flat spots on Ricky's tyres from where he had that incident earlier. As we know on Le Mans Ultimate, excuse me, it's so easy to get flat spotted tyres, especially in the LMP2s and 3s and the hypercars as well, where you don't have that ABS assist to help you out if you need to slam on the brakes rather quickly. And we saw Ricky spin earlier, so again, it could be a number of events that have led up towards this. We watch towards the line here, and we now see Nick 95 just on the back, I believe, of Davide, and just in front of them as well is going to be is that Michi Hoyer up in second place? It is. So retakes what is second place. So Razin Chai still 2.8 seconds up the road in first place. And we watch from the rear wing, the cars that are chasing him down. And you've got to be so cool, calm and collected under this pressure over the sustained time, which is 2.4 hours.
Rassen will be happy about this, I'll be honest with you. I think he'll be very happy about this. In fact, Michi Hoyer's pace is not quite on the same level, albeit he had a slightly duff lap last time out, maybe in an attempt to save some energy. He could probably afford to do a bit more of that as we have another yellow. It's for Ricky 03 once again, who's had a problem in Sector 1, quickly gets back on his feet, or wheels in this case, and carries on his merry way. For those of you familiar with the Le Mans Ultimate game, for my limited time playing it, the flat spots are no joke. That's a silly song and dance to try and play around, as Michi Hoyer and Davide, again, still ensuing into combat. So Nick Hoven actually shipping 2 places down, which is what he could ill afford to do, because it looked like for a moment he had the pace to challenge Razin, who can just keep comfortable and put in the consistency. There he is in the foreground of shot, rounding Sunset Bend as Davide again goes to the inside. He is threatening closer and closer all the time, but look at the compromise he has. The more he does that, the closer Nick Huben can get back to re-inheriting that podium place. Across the line they go, a pull to the inside, but a pull and no more, just a body feint from the lean machine that is Nick Huben, and he's going to have to wait for another opportunity.
He certainly will. Lots of time left in the session. We approach that 2-hour mark, but of course still about 3 or so laps to go until we reach just 2 hours to go here in Sebring. A little status update of everybody trying to get themselves figured out. No major losers in terms of position, with the exception maybe of Ricky 03, who's dropped 9 places. Of course, Nebel, who's still in 15th, but albeit now past the LMGT3 traffic, he's dropped 11 places off of race start. I believe that to be due to starting in pit road, but he's still only 5 seconds off the back of Ricky 03 at the moment. So starting to catch up to the LMP2 field, and one that he'll be very much thankful for. We look back up towards the front now between Boost Motorsport and Alex Lynham. The gap there considerably starting to close in on itself when you got George Morgan, the lapped car in front of them, and then Ryan 83 just up the road in the very vibrant Corvette that you cannot miss, probably even when the lights do go out at Sebring. The car behind, Grid Jokes, is the LMP2 car, just making their way up. He's got to find a way past. He goes to the left, but boxed in by Alex Lydham, who's not going to let him go easy. Little bit of a squeeze there given to the Ford Mustang of Boosted Motorsport. We watch on board with the LMP2 car, trying to find a way past, but it's a very narrow circuit, can Sebring be at the best of times. This time to the inside of Boosted, but he's not committed enough. He doesn't want to send it down the inside in the hope that he might get the move done. This time, though, under acceleration to the right-hand side of Boosted, to the left-hand side of Lynham. Now he'll have George Morgan, the lapped car. The blue flags will be showing, but no obligations to let them pass, of course. Does get past George Morgan, and now Ryan L83 just up the road to deal with next.
Exactly. The main thing is the GT3 is just be predictable. You have the closing speed at such an alarming rate in the LMP2 cars in comparison. So you've just got to hold your line, keep predictable, and let the LMP2s decide the work for themselves. That's the critical thing. As we see, again, Nick Huben closing in on Davide, who he himself closing in on Michi Hoyer. A nice little slinky effect going on for second, third, and fourth places. Again, Lewis Bousif holds the inside line, and very much holding the inside line. He's right on the tail of Alex Lynham to the inside. That's Ricky 03 regaining ground in this race, and that means Lewis Bousif is going to have to wait another time. But the boxing in is down the inside. That's brave from the Purple Machine. That's very, very brave indeed. Too brave, in fact, because wide and off the track goes the number 21 car of, I believe that will be It's Austrian Andy, I think. Yes, Austrian Andy. So that was Safso. My apologies. Austrian Andy splitting up the two LMGT3 cars. And, well, that means problems for Lewis Bousif because, well, Jonathan Legard style, because he's now got to wait again, gap nearly a second.
This is where it gets confusing, and we were joking with our producer behind the scenes before the show got started about how many cars are sharing numbers. So we've got two number 21s who now are in 12th and 13th place, so they're separated by one place on the circuit at the moment. That's Austrian Andy and TTA, so Tyrrell Alexander, which is going to make our life a little bit more difficult. We've got even more numbers being shared up and down the field. Two number 10s, Michi Hoyer and Davide De Scipio. Further down the order, we've got two 45s, both Jaden March, who's now out of this race, unfortunately, and Alex Lynham. We've got two 6.7s, Shock Horror. We've got I can't say that. We've got Formula Momo and Grid Jokes, both running that number. And 83, we've got three different drivers running that number. Ryan Littlemore, Safso, and Ricky 03. And, of course, two 99s, Davide Fashol and Fabio Inthratic, who is still in pit road.
Michi Hoyer, P3. Davide's made the move. He's up to P2 on the road. That was a critical move to make. And now it is Nick Huben that can get right on the back of the ballast man. That is Michi Hoyer. Put in a firecracker lap time in qualifying. Showed the exact potential he knows he can have. But that means, in contrast, when it comes to race conditions, the car's on heavy fuel, it's even more slovenly. Of course it will get better as the stint goes on, but he's got all of those problems to face. Again, Legard style, but the problem he's facing now is number 95 is right on his case. Didn't go well for him a few laps ago. He's looking to reap the rewards, though, of the ailing LMP2 ahead.
He certainly is. Ryan still with a considerable lead as well in the lead of the LMGT3 field. The gap's still standing at just over 2 seconds between himself and Alex Lydham. There's great battles going on up and down the field. Of course, talking about fastest laps, Razin still holds that for the LMP2 cars. It's Boosted Motorsport that still holds it for the LMGT3 category as well. And Nick 95 still on the back of Michi Hoyer. And this will be a generational battle. Of course, two fantastic drivers on the grid. Of course, we can't forget Hoyer has got that 50-kilogram ballast being added. But we watch on board with the rear wing of Hoyer now down the Allman Straight towards Sunset. And you start to kind of consider now, we're not too far distant from the earliest to pit stops. Most drivers about 50% or so of the way through their early fuel or battery allowance or the virtual energy allowance, especially in the LMGT3s. The first driver, and I said this earlier, will be Chesnoid Gaming, who considerably underfueled compared to the rest of the grid, putting in about 70-80% from race start. So surely he knows something we don't.
Indeed. P9 is Ches, the man mountain, under 30% energy, and it is quite important to talk about the energy conversation up and down the field. Nick Huben on just under 50%. Michi Hoyer still over that threshold at the moment. Someone who was very close to that also was Marcel Kiefer. So those two, despite the ballast, using their experience, using their knowledge of racing on Le Mans Ultimate to make the most of the cards that they have been dealt. Marcel Kiefer is all over the back of Arthur Marden on board with the former F1 Esports World Championship driver for Red Bull Racing and Mercedes in times gone by. Now dons Le Mans Ultimate and now is absolutely relishing the challenge with the ballast, with the compromised grid position. He's having a great crack at it out there. Into the hairpin turn they go, able to get the car stopped. His confidence on the brakes is what mesmerizes me most. Even with that ballast, he's able to brake, what, 5-10 meters later than his competitors on the normal running. Just exceptional confidence.
Which might not sound like a lot. Let's just clarify this, because, you know, you go, oh, 5-10 meters, that's not very much. But actually, in the terms of the field and the spread that we have, these cars are going to brake pretty much at the exact same time, lap after lap after lap. And it shows the real difference in confidence from Kiefer for us, everybody else. And actually the mentality and the attitude of the esports drivers that have practiced these over and over again, but equally have the ability to hop in different cars, understand them, and then go racing to a competitive degree. We see this in so much in modern day racing, especially the news coming out at the moment with Verstappen and his side hobbies, that he's hopping into every single car, where he got close to, what was it, the GT 500 lap time set by a professional driver, and then on his second lap smashed it by about 2 seconds. And it's that ability to be able to jump from car to car that really makes, well, separates the men from the boys here in sport. And oh, there's a mistake from, that's going to be Kiefer into the wall. It doesn't look like any major damage though, but surely a little bit of a knock to the confidence, if not anything else.
That was a heavy, heavy hit. You can see the steering slightly left-hand down. No real surprise there. A massive slam into barrier from Marcel Kiefer, who will be feeling the flat spots as well. Make no mistake about that. It was almost an inevitability that he was going to make the move. You saw him show the nose to the inside. You knew he was going to scythe it on through. But it was weather again. Sunset Bend reared its ugly head despite the poetic name. And so it did. We have some pit stops going on in the meantime. Austrian Andy is into the box. Had about half the energy, so he's getting that all recharged, getting some fresh tyres, or maybe keeping the scrub tyres on the LMP2 car. Of course, we won't be able to tell until he gets back onto the track and see what the comparison is, as again, Busiv is right on the tail of Alex Lynham. He had to weather the storm and whittle it whilst the LMP2s are making their way through, but he takes the tighter line. It's going to be a drag race down the line towards turn number 1. Again, the BMW just hauling it down the straight, finding the optimal power, and Lewis will again send it down the inside. Confidence and faith in Alex Lynham not to shut the door, but Alex knows exactly what the score is to settle. The switchback opens it up, argy-bargy towards the left-hander. An absolutely brilliant battle for P2 on the road, still not giving it up. It's the BMW driver. Fantastic racing room and respect from the pair of them. The Mustang has it under lock and key as we see a number 83 car off in the LMP2 class.
Yeah, Ricky 03 once again finding home in the grass and the gravel, but this battle's not over yet. Alex Lynham once again looking towards the outside line, maybe thinking about the switch back through this little chicane section, but the BMW just not necessarily playing ball, but still on the rear of the Mustang. This battle, I think, is going to continue lap after lap after lap. They're going to go 10 rounds, and at the end of it, it'll feel like you've been hit by Rocky Balboa. Alex Lynham still looking on the rear for any minor mistake from that Mustang, but can't quite get the move this time around. There was contact between the two of them as they try and figure out each other's racing styles. They try and figure out the strengths and or weaknesses that the drivers have contained within the cars. They go through the right-hander, I believe through Tower Turn, and now down the Flying Fortress Straight, one of the best named straights in all of motorsport, down towards Bishop and then towards Le Mans. This is going to be the end of the lap-ish, if you excuse the Allman Straight, but you can see the LMP2 car, that's Ricky 03 again, flying the French flag at the front of their nose, trying to figure out how to deal with this traffic. We've been told as well, Chesnoid Gaming has got into pit road already, come out with a fresh charge and some brand new fuel, all the way up to the limit on that tank.
Fantastic stuff. All this battling, though, from Busiv and Lynham, credit to them. That was absolutely astonishing work from the pair of them. It has let Ryan L83 escape. 3.3 seconds is the gap out in front. You also probably saw Alex flash his lights just as they were getting right into the heat of battle as they turned the temperature up another 6 degrees. And that's because the LMP2 car there of Ricky 03 as he scythes down the inside of Ryan L83 to regain some more track position. Brief trip into the grass, but nothing major outside of that. There's the flash to the lights again. It's all just acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement that there is a faster car approaching, and really, there's no point in battling. It will just compromise their races even more. And in the context of F1 Alex, he might learn a thing or two by just holding it behind the Mustang, holding it in its slipstream, taking the same kind of lines, and then hoisting himself up as a byproduct towards this man, the race leader in GT3.
You're absolutely right. Still the gap up at the top, expanding now to 2.7 seconds between Littlemore and Wawa. Now Boosive Motorsport, who stands in second place. Alex still holding on to third. We had a brief yellow flag there for the LMGT3s. That was Chesnoid Gaming, who just had a bit of an issue coming out of pit road. We've also got Uncle Tuki making his way in towards pit lane as well to get a fresh set of tyres and possibly some more fuel. But most drivers coming in here, Carl, considerably earlier than I was expecting. I'm not quite sure what the plan is, but I'm guessing it's going to be that splash and dash taking early on, as we also see Ben Law in towards pit road. So we've only had, what, about half an hour of racing, if my maths is anywhere near correct, and they are starting to, well, need the earlier pit stops. If not, they're trying to go for an alternate strategy here.
Exactly. I mean, you can see on the bottom of the screen, 38% battery still left in the tank for Mr. Nebwall. So you'd think he should go all the way to the end of that stint, but there's always strategies at play. Maybe there is that offset that you can take through to the end of the race if you are a bit more savvy at saving the fuel, maybe making less stops despite having the earlier stop. There's always a game to be played in endurance racing when it is such a long race, when there are such fine margins to play with. As we look at Tom Biener on the heli view, just overthrowing the GT3 car. That's, I believe, George Morgan in the background. The number 31 car. He is on the case, though, as Mr. Tom Biener of Alex Can't Drive, who has been whipping wheel round very nicely indeed. But Tom Biener, Creator Series champion of the Formula 1 side, he is well and truly on the case. One-time race winner as well in Le Mans Ultimate, last time out at the Sakir Outer Circuit, and looking to try and make ends meet at Sebring as well. A yellow flag in Sector 1 again. Riccio 3 with another moment. It goes from bad to worse for the Italian.
It really does, and I think you're going to have to find someone new to put in that car in a minute, because it's not necessarily gone the way of one of the Italian stallions here in the Creator Series. It's had a bad day out in Sebring. It's a flat circuit, so no undulations to have to deal with. More yellow flags fly. This time Marcel Keith again finds himself in the barrier, and again it's Sunset Bend, and this day has gone from bad to worse for the esports, well, the F1 sim racing driver, who finds himself back in his garage box. Oh my goodness, and that is a DNF from the race. Keeper's out here, Carl.
Again, Sunset Bend rears its ugly head, but it is just an indication that even the very, very best can get caught out by the brutality of Le Mans Ultimate, by the brutality of the Sebring circuit. Commiserations to Marcel Kiefer. I was about to again laud his progress, because he'd again made it past Arthur Marden, despite the damage that he had on the car, clearly evidenced. He was still setting the same kind of lap times as Tom Biener up ahead. So insane overall pace, but again, Sunset Bend is no joke. What is also no joke, and I hope this one lasts, and it is Tom Biener versus Alex Can't Drive. You can see just how menacing that orange machine is. It's going to get hot out there.
Absolutely right, and we watch and see at the bottom of your screen, so the LMP2s, the fuel on board with Alex Can't Drive, still sitting about 28%, so a number of laps still left within the cars, and trying to figure out how to get past. It's Tom Biener still trying to chase down for what will be P5 on the circuit, and you can see up on your screens Razin Chai, the only driver to go a little bit left field here in terms of LMP2 choice. Everybody else choosing pretty much the exact same car. They are equally as balanced as one another, no major differences to speak of, and Tom Biener through Sunset Bend just looking towards the inside as we pass by Alex Lynham in the LMGT3 category. Down towards the first corner, and Tom will look to try and send the move potentially towards the first corner. He's looking there, he's just reminding Alex Can't Drive that he's in his mirror. Doesn't commit, not quite enough straight line speed on this occasion, but we pass past Boosive Motorsport as well. It's still the front two, these two running side by side, trying to pass through the top of the LMGT3 field. They'll encounter Ryan L83 in the next few moments, and again, just try and get past without any major quarrels, because again, the more you fight the cars that you're not even in a battle with, the more it hurts your race later on.
Boosive Motorsport's having a cracking stint out there as well. He's now within 2 seconds of Ryan L83, who has looked relatively imperious in the GT3 class so far, but not to be. Wide at the hairpin turn as Grid Jokes brings out the yellow flag in Sector 1 only briefly, but he does carry on, which is good news. Tom Biener again closes in. That's towards the tower turn corner. It's Cunningham corner, I think. Excuse me, but wide goes Tom Biener. Pressure can pay off, but it can also plummet you into perpetual misery, and it's found itself that way for the orange machine. No harm done, no positions lost, just only 3 seconds and emotional damage. Ryan L83's picked up another spot. Gap, though, 1.3 seconds. Lewis Busiv is a man on the move.
That he is, and I wonder how much Ryan is starting to try and figure out where strategy plays into this. Do they go early, take the initial sort of splash and dash here at the moment, because they know they'll have to do one from previous experience in both Bahrain and Spa. They was able to do pretty much 2 full stints. Ricky side by side here with Saf. So that's not either of those 2 drivers. That's Ricky, though. I'm fairly sure of it side by side as they try and make their way through. It might not be. Maybe 2 cars are running the same livery, and this is confusing the absolute Jesus out of me, and it is Sasso that gets past. That's going to be Davide on the back. What is now for 9th and 10th place. I think I have come to the conclusion that both Sasso and Ricky are running the same livery. So colour me confused, Carl.
Colour you confused indeed. Also colour me confused. I'll apologise for something I said earlier. The LMP2 cars in this race do not have virtual energy, just to be quite clear, because they're unrestricted. They can go all guns blazing. That is fuel that we are looking at inside the little energy column on our telemetry. The GT3 cars, though, do have virtual energy, so they're having to play with those kind of demons as they go through the stint. Gap at the front of the LMGT3 is now it's now under a second. Busiv Motorsport is a man on the move and in the groove. The blue blood, I don't call it that for nothing, channeling the spirit of everyone's favourite Snoik Hodgeg with 1 hour 50 minutes to go here at Sebring. Has Ryan L83 firmly in his crosshairs. Rasin Chai leads by now over 4 seconds. And he's found his mojo royally. Didn't quite go his way in Belgium. Taco Man was a different kind of animal in the race conditions. Here today, though, completely unchallenged. Perhaps pole position, bit of a curse.
Well, I have a very quick question for you. What is a Snoik hog hedge?
Snoik Hodgeg. Yeah, don't worry about it, mate. 1 hour 48 to go in this race, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the rear wing of Rasin, not that there's much to look at, because in the distance, I believe that is the next closest car of Davide. But might as well be a spec. Might as well be a spec. It is completely out of focus because the focus is really on Nick Huben against Davide. The purple machine versus the lean and mean machine. Number 95 taking the wider line as Davide goes narrow again. It will be a race down towards turn number 1. But it is so tricky in the LMP2 cars here. You have to be alongside to even think about making a move because the aerodynamic prowess is so much more proficient. In GT3, you can send it that tiny bit more. Here, though, you do have to have complete confidence that the move is absolutely ascertained.
You're absolutely right. I think the only place you'd be brave enough realistically to go side by side on such a narrow circuit is almost certainly down Ormond Straight and into Sunset Bend. They're going to be the 2 positions, the 2 places on this circuit that I'd feel confident, especially behind the wheel of one of these LMP2 cars. We watched still with the number 95 trying to inherit all of the history of the cars that have run that number, trying to chase down Austrian Andy that is just in front of them and try and make a move, stand where they can. It's not even Austrian Andy. Is it? I'm still. It's not. It is Austrian Andy. It's the lapped car. No, it's not. I don't know anymore. Carl, I'm confused.
I'm confused as well. Don't worry.
It's Davide.
In the same boat together. There's Davide. There's Nick Huben. Mr. N95 in the background. And, well, gap now 5 seconds up at the front. It's not necessarily because these 2 are fighting. It's because Rasin is just having a rampant time. 6/10 faster than Davide on that previous lap. Michi Hoyer, 6 seconds off these 2. The ballast is hurting. He is saving a lot more fuel, though. 22.7% fuel, which means absolutely nothing in litres to me. Your guess is as good as mine. Everyone else ahead of him, though, about 4, 5, maybe even 6% lower in terms of the fuel that they have. So there's clearly a long game being played for him, and also a long game being played by Safso in the AF Corsa car, the number 83. He's just got under 25% fuel left in the tank. So there is a long game to be played here.
I wonder if Safso, I don't know how long we're going to be able to try and take these cars to the nth degree, but I wonder if Safso's maybe just trying to play some fuel saving games here. And then when we go for that splash and dash at the end, he'll have a shorter pit stop in theory. He'll be able to save some more time if he's able to go longer in both initial sets of fuel, and by the end he might pay the dividends for it when he can then start to open up the car more and push through the twists and turns that present to us here at Sebring. And at the moment we're not seeing any major moves. Nobody's really starting to go too daring at the moment. because of the situation we find ourselves in. Safso 21 seconds off the back of Razin Chai at the moment. Of course, if we account for a complete pit stop here, you're going to be losing, what, a minute plus in totality? So maybe this is the smart play we're seeing here from Safso.
I agree. I completely concur with what you're saying. Elsewhere as well, I'm looking at other fuel situations as we go. Of course, Michi Hoyer 20% on the fuel. Again, means diddly squat to me in the context of this race and what kind of figure that might represent. But the point is, long game being played, and he's still holding good pace compared to the cars ahead of him. Despite the fuel getting lower, he's still finding the pace whilst lifting and coasting. So all will flood back the way of the man with brutal ballast. Nearly, well, actually 40 minutes through this race already. That's gone through alarmingly quickly. The big battles out on the track at the moment, of course, these two been surveying their every manoeuvre at the moment. Davide versus Nick Huben in P2 and P3 in this race. Razin just being allowed to escape on into the sunset bend at Sebring, which he's already traversing, I would imagine. We've then got for the lead of LMGT3, though. That's the big one, because Busive Motorsport has had to weather the storm. He's had to whittle his way through the traffic, but ever since he's got past Alex Lynham, has not looked back. He's only had eyes fearlessly forward, because there is the Corvette of Ryan L83, unbalanced at the best of times, as Scotty Designs, by the way, has brought out the yellow flag, and that is bad news. Scotty's out. I'm devastated.
Heartbroken. Absolutely heartbroken. You've made my day go from bad to worse here, Carl, by telling me that Scotty Designs has found a good hug with Barrier, and this is quite possibly one of the worst situations we could have found ourselves in. And oh my goodness, he didn't just give Barry a hug, he absolutely smacked it into Barry, and unfortunately for him, that will be the end. And for Scotty, Sebring, it might not, well, this isn't a love song, this is goodbye.
Well, I'll tell you what it was a bad Superman attempt as well, as we see LMP's two cars again cutting through the traffic, and it's a purple machine behind a grey or black machine. That's just going to royally confuse us. There's the purple machine in question. Might well be Austrian Andy, excuse me, answers on a postcard. What isn't answers on a postcard, though, is the fact that this battle for the lead is about to get very spicy indeed. Boosted Motorsport getting closer and closer. What was a 5/10 gap at last lap is now under 4/10 this lap, as Davide's had a moment. That sent Nick Huben through, and he's lost a plethora of time as well in the process. I'm trying to see, he's not gone into pit lane. That's a genuine mistake. Michi Hoyer goes through as well. Razin has 10 seconds of daylight. And he's, well, Nick Huben and co punching the air. He can't believe the stroke of luck he's got, Razin Chai, because he's sailing on clear even more.
Absolutely phenomenal scenes in the lead of the LMP2 field here. The light between us grows ever and ever further, is what Razin Chai will be singing up in that cockpit at the moment, as he still leads, with Nick trying to chase him down, but the gap just growing ever exponentially over every lap that they complete here. They swing around the outside of the LMGT3 field, just to the inside this time of one of the BMWs. The number that we have on this circuit, we watch back on board with the front two in the LMGT3 field now. Boosted Motorsport still on the back of Ryan L83, or Ryan Littlemore, as you see on your screens here. Both of them slightly low in terms of virtual energy, as Ryan was on 8%, 15% for the Mustang just behind. And of course, the turbo in that Corvette will be drinking and guzzling fuel as much as it possibly can be. The Mustang, of course, naturally aspirated V8, I want to say, in that car. I might have got that wrong, but it is one that gives an incredible noise, but also manages rather well around Sebring. Who would have thought it? American sports car in an American circuit doing rather well.
I smell corruption at Sebring, ladies and gentlemen. Not that Boosted Motorsport's going to care. He's, again, within 0.3 of a second. Slipstream effect not as pronounced in these cars as it might be in some other categories of motorsport, but he's closing in all the time. Under 0.2 he goes. And ever so close to dipping a left wheel into the grass. That's the margins they're playing with at the front of this race. Ryan L83 playing it a bit safer, though. Knows he's got the track position. Knows he can sort of dictate the way that the racing line is going to work. Boosted Motorsport, they've got to make the racing happen themselves. Another battle in GT3, which we haven't paid close attention to, was, well, Sparks YT, I believe, is into the pit lane. That's fine, which means the battle is now for P5. Fimex and Alan of Xenix Forge Racing, they're having a good old scrap for P5 on the road. Two BMW cars, as if it couldn't get any more confusing.
Who would have thunked it? Two BMWs doing well in Le Mans Ultimate. Colour me shocked, Carl, once again on this broadcast. One that we never expected to do happen. These tourists, these Bop tourists as they're known, like to come in and choose the best car for a circuit. It's absolutely disgraceful. Shouldn't be happening, in my opinion.
Nick Hoopen's
But
gone.
that's... Oh, no, Nick 95 again. Is that Sunset again? Is that claimed another? It is. That is the final corner once again, claiming almost another LMP2 car. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, didn't quite clatter the barrier with as much degree as Marcel Kiefer. We watch Rasen Chai in towards pit road now. Will refuel his tanks, but whilst we have one driver that died by the Ford, we've got one driver very much living by the Ford, with Boosted Motorsport still on the back of Ryan Littlemore in what is now a battle for the lead.
Sunset Bend by name and by nature. One wrong move is massively over the curbs. The difference again in racing lines. The curbs at Sebring are no joke, but the Ford taking them comfortably, riding it like Tony Hawk. Fantastic stuff. Loads of people peeling into pit lane as well. It wasn't just our race leader, Tom Bina, Alex Can't Drive, Arthur Marden, Davide DeCipio also following suit as we see Ryan L83 go into the pit box in the Corvette. So the leader is the first to blink, and also because Boosted Motorsport had 7% more virtual energy, he's able to go for maybe 1-2 more laps, have that offset, and that really throws the figurative cat amongst the pigeons, and in this case, the horse.
I don't know why that threw me that much. I was like, our car's going to be a really nice sign-off, like the nice transition. Just a horse. That's fine. Pooch isn't in the race, if you know Poochie Head. His profile picture on Discord is just a horse. And it makes me chuckle every time I see it pop up. But nonetheless, that's neither here nor there in this commentary box at the moment. I thought it was just a fun one to bring to your all attention. Rasen Chai, now out of pit road. His last lap time of 3:02, so showing, of course, that he was in pit road. I don't know why I brought that up. It's not really relevant at the moment. But Michi Hoyer in the lead now by 12 seconds and some change to the back of Davide and, of course, Nick 95 as well in second and third, respectively. As Davide does indeed peel into pit road all by himself, as does Nick 95 as well. So those drivers will have an opportunity to put a fresh set of boots on their car.
Trying to get an indication of what the gap is transitioning like between Rasen and Safso as well, just to see if Rasen has gone for maybe scrub tyres or maybe he's gone for a fresh set of boots, losing multiple attempts. I'd hazard a guess he's definitely gone for the newer tyres at this first set of pit stops, and that's the wear and tear he's going to have to deal with. And the pain and shame, for that matter, is trying to invigorate some temperature into those tyres. Meanwhile, Davide and Nick Hooben perhaps have an opportunity to take that by storm and put on some scrub tyres, have the optimism at the early point of the stint, and get on ahead, steal a march on our race leader. Not that they would, because Rasen Chai has already gone on through to take back the provisional race lead.
4 yellow flags as well. This time TTA, Terrell Alexander, having the yellows brought out on circuit. A little bit of a whoopsie on board with their car. The pink LMP2 car that's had its fair dealings of trials and tribulations here at Sebring this afternoon. Not necessarily found the most stable of form, but doing well to try and keep it within track limits for the time being. That's one thing we haven't really mentioned here, Carl, of course. Track limits are a thing. They get a certain amount of points that they can rack up before a drive-through penalty is issued. We saw them in Spa, we saw them in Bahrain as well, and more typically towards the end of the race. But they are a factor that you've really got to consider, especially when the limits are very narrow, like we see here. A little bit of a fake sent by Nick 95 on one of the LMGT3 field in towards Sunset Bend, and almost certainly what will be their last lap before pitting. We watch here Andrew Marden just working their way with one of the other LMP2 cars. I believe that might be a back marker just behind them, unless that is Alex Can't Drive. There it is, Alex Can't Drive, 0.4 of a second, just off the rear of them. The battle for 7th place, but they are still awaiting to try and gain themselves up slightly further forward to the likes of Tom Bina and Tom Brower. And we do watch there, getting past the LMGT3s, and, well, absolutely fantastically. We have got news, I believe Nebwal as well has pulled into pit road and retired from this race.
It's devastating. Absolutely devastating for Nebwal, who we know is very proficient on Le Mans Ultimate. Just did not work out today. But the good news is, if you are TTA, Mr. Terrell Alexander, who currently sits in P13, might not have had a great run of things, but he's still in the race. I always maintain this in the context of racing, in the context of events like this. Is very, very, very wide indeed goes Davide DeCipio. Less of Sebring and more Sri Lanka he's trying to visit through that particular corner. But regardless, he's right on the back of George Morgan. God, be careful, mate. That was ridiculously close to contact. As we now take a chill pill, because there's Ryan L83. Currently sits in P3. Boosted Motorsport is still out there. 2.7% of the virtual energy left. F1 Alex is playing with fire, though. He's below 1%. virtual energy. Luckily, the pit lane will and should appear in the nick of time. So strategy at play, now 0.4%. Alex Lynham's got to be extremely careful here and hope that pit row makes its way into the forefront in a matter of moments. We saw Kareem17 misjudge it and completely run out at the end of the race in the LMP2 cars. And look at him, he's gone. He's completely out, but he's just, I think, going to make pit row. Can he actually wheel it in the nick of time? This could be devastating for the BMW driver. Just wheeling it in, pit lane limit at 60 kilometers an hour. I think he's just got away with it.
I think there's surely going to be some stewards' inquiries about that because he's still on the throttle getting into his pit box there. That is millimetrically perfect if he's done it. If not, I think we need to have a word with the stewards here at Sebring because that was definitely 0.0 on our screens. I'm not necessarily sure what book they're using to count again. Maybe we need to take it back to school that 1 + 1 sometimes equals 2 in our eyes. But nonetheless, we watch on board with Safso making their way through. They're in second place at the moment, albeit yet to pit. Michi Hoyer also in towards the pit there, up at the top of the LMP2 field. And we've heard news, definitely ran out. But, of course, as we saw earlier, with Fabio transforming himself wonderfully into a building, it's a little bit of video game magic.
I also want to preface this by saying, please do not cancel us for saying Fabio turned into a building. We did not mean anything malicious by this. As Safso peels into the pit lane from the top 3. A good little stint from Safso. Kept his head, kept fuel saving, and he's reaped the rewards of it. Some decent track position might be heading his way. Rasinchai, no real surprise, retakes the lead here at the 2.4 hours of Sebring. He, well, is having an absolute masterclass of things out there. Pit for newer tyres. Everybody else lost a plethora of time in comparison. Davide, who was in P2 in this race, we're trying to have the recalculations of what the deltas are looking like in comparison, as Michi Hoyer peels back out onto the track. And has he managed to get out ahead of Tom Biener? It looks like he has. So 19 seconds, 20 seconds in fact, looks to be the gap. I'm surprised Davide and Nick Huben have lost so much time compared to Rasinchai. I don't quite know how that's happened. I'm sure there's an explanation. But he's lost so much time. And even more interesting news is that El Busiv Motorsports, the main man, he's 6 seconds ahead of Ryan L83, and with more power. A phenomenal first stint. He's reaped the rewards handsomely.
He's already about 10% down on virtual energy, so I wonder if he's gone for a little bit of a shorter pit stop there in preparation for what will be the final splash and dash, because it is a strategy that you can do. You slightly under-fuel or under-prepare for this final run, or this second stint, as it were. And when you get to the end of the race, you can just do a little bit less splash and dash. You go in a little bit earlier, but you run later to try and offset yourself from some of the other drivers. A person we need to keep an eye on is Safso here, on 1.6% virtual energy, as they're just making their way around the final corner. This is going to be close from Saf as well, in terms of whether he's going to make it towards the line.
I think Safso went into the box. It might just be a telemetry thing there.
It is. There we go.
99.2%. Happy days. Everyone breathe. PS1 Hagrid, he's going to be fine. The conjuring has worked. 1 hour and a half, almost. 1.5 hours. We're nearly at the fulcrum point of this race already, which is rather unbelievable. It really has flown by, but the news so far is Rasinchai is having a phenomenal time. 25 seconds ahead of his next closest competitor. That's in the form of Michi Hoyer, with Tom Biener sitting in P3. Davide in 4th, Nick Huben in 5th place. Alex can't drive in P6. Arthur Marden, Grid Jokes, Safso and Davide DeCipio round out the 10 in the LMP2s. And I hand you over to TK for the GT3s.
In the top 10 then for the GT3s is Busiv, that still leads from Ryan L83, from Alex Glynham, also known as F1 Alex TTV. It's Sparks in 4th, Ethan Walker, Walker in 5th. It's Fimex in 6th. 7th is Devon Allen. 8th is Formula Momo, who's gone somewhat under the radar here at the moment, with Quest and Chesnoid Gaming making up your top 10. Of course, George Morgan still in this race in 11th place. We haven't really talked much about him after that earlier contact and, or so we say, the hardware issues that he faced. But he is still running, albeit down in 11th place. One more DNF from another GT3 car. He's in the top 10 here, Carl.
That's just, again, the mark of not ever giving up. Just keeping your head, keeping the consistency, allowing it to flow on through. It's exactly what George Morgan has done. Yes, it was not the optimal start by any means, but he has now a full opportunity to get used to the way the car feels, to really put it through its paces, find the confidence in himself. There's always something you can get out of this, which is great to see. George Morgan currently running in the 2-minute 6s, which is faster than the likes of Ches and Quest up ahead on similar fuel loads. So he's got good pace out there. He'll be thoroughly encouraged by that.
Absolutely right, and interesting to keep an eye on. And our producers just let us know in the our little conversation that a 20% retire rate at the moment. We've had 5 DNFs out of 60, and of course 1 in the long-term garage, which is, I believe, Mr. Fabio, also known as Infratic, after unknown issues. We'll put it that way. We watch on board here with Ricky03 getting overtaken. Just a lovely move down the inside. I believe that's going to be, if I can try and figure out who that is. I believe that might be a lapped car just making their way past.
Look, I think it's Arthur Marden off the top of my head. Pretty sure that orange machine.
Yeah.
Ricky 03's not going to have it, though. There he is. Arthur Marden, currently sitting pretty in P7. Had pit relatively recently, but is now getting up to speed again. Watching the lap times, Rasin Chai 4 seconds a lap faster than Michi Hoyer at the moment, who is now nearly 30 seconds behind. It's an excellent judgment of stint and pace. We do have to remember Michi is running the handicap of ballast in that LMP2 car, so it's not all set and sealed in stone. Let's make it quite clear. The man wielding Excalibur, though, has to ward off the Italian threat behind. On board with Michi Hoyer, across the line they go, start yet another lap. Count down the seconds, because we're nearly an hour and a half to go in this race. And, well, improveyourlaptime.com, he did, well, he obviously, well, all I'm saying is Michi Hoyer did not need to use that. He was flying. Let's put it that way. Pole position with the ballast hasn't quite materialised in the race, but who cares? The point is, with the ballast, he has done a commendable job so far.
We know Razin is one of those drivers that when it comes to race pace, he is a driver that just digs deep, gives everything that he has in order to make his way home to the end of the race. He won't make bold moves. He'll just sit behind. He'll play happy. We saw it. If you remember back to Baku a few seasons ago, he was winning the race on towards that long back straight when Tom, out of absolutely nowhere, came out to help him, gave him the toe down towards the line. And actually, that is the sort of driver that Razin is. Yes, he gets, I don't want to call him lucky because he's not 9 times out of 10, but he's prepared. He thinks ahead. What's the word I'm trying to think of? He evaluates the situation and he'll play the smart game 9 times out of 10. And I'm going to stop giving him too much credit because otherwise he'll remind me of this when I crash out of the next race.
I think the main phrase that I know another Creator Series long-term individual has used is race IQ, of which Razin has loads, and his racing etiquette as well is exceptional. You see the way he races, not just here, but in the F1 side of things, on a game where, of course, the damage isn't maybe the most refined in the world. Maybe there is a bit more of that opportunity to make contact, to make moves happen. But even so, he treats it respectfully. He treats it like the real event. You want to make the move clean. You want to be as respectful as possible. And that is a mark of the man we are watching right now. The neon green machine with all the finesse and flair in the world. Nearly 30 seconds the advantage to his next closest competitor. Under the hour and a half mark, Michi Hoyer crosses the line to set a 49.9. He's not a million miles off. Tom Bina not quite on the pace of the man in P2, although I say that the telemetry has to update now. About half a second off, and Davide and Nick Huben are catching up little by little. Big battle at the moment, though. We're watching Fimex and Alan of Zenix Forge Racing, excuse me, my apologies. Both BMWs going to have a beautiful bonanza through towards the right-hander. Does a move present itself? Do you feel daring? No, because the corner closes up too early. You've got to wait for that Allman straight.
It's a tight circuit for the GT3, so you want to try and carry speed through the corner, and the moment you become compromised, having another GT3 alongside you actually, yes, you're still battling the car beside you, but actually you start to lose out to the cars in front of you. And it's a really important factor when we get in towards endurance racing and we get into the longer races that Le Mans Ultimate can offer us, the 6 hours, your 12 hours, your 24-hour races. And when the team events start to become available for us to run privately, this is the sort of thing that you've got to try and consider is how much time am I going to lose by battling this car hard in the wider picture to all the cars around me? Because you might go, okay, yeah, I'm Alan right now. I'm going to battle this car really hard because I want to try and get 6th position at the moment. But actually, you might lose 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds till we walk her up the road. And over a 6, 8, 10, 12-hour race or even longer, those seconds do start to really add up when you battle car after car after car, especially those that aren't even necessarily on the same pit strategy or the same tyres or fuel as you. It's a long game, it's a thinking game, it's where the engineers really start to earn their money in endurance racing is, right, I'm not going to bother with this battle because I know in 10 hours it's not going to be the same result.
I couldn't agree more with you. It's such a tricky psychological paradox that you have as a driver, but it's what they have to manage. It's the aim of the game. Nick Huben, the aim of the game to get past Davide that lies ahead of him, provisionally with P2 and P3. Again, going for that later apex. He's got much more confidence in the car. This could be the best opportunity yet to make a move into turn number 1. Switches to the inside on the fender view. And now we switch to the outside. Through goes Nick Huben. I think Davide fought the farm on that one, said it's not worth battling so hard in this case. We can work together. And through goes N95 Racing into P4, and the pace has paid off.
That it certainly has. Gives a quick ka-chow on his way past and will make himself up to 4th place. He'll have Tom Bina up the road, about 10-second difference between the two drivers at the moment. And again, something that you can slowly catch over an hour and a half or so that we've got left of racing here in Sebring. We watched Razin Chives on the back of Devon Allen and, of course, Fimex as well, making their way down the Allman Straight towards Sunset Bend. And Razin unencumbered by those LMGT3s. Still 27 seconds in the lead of the LMP2 field. And I can't tell if he's flashing his lights intentionally or if that's just the sun glaring off as it does begin to start to set here at Sebring, Carl. We knew it was going to start to become a factor. We're about 5:30 in sim time. So when the sun starts to go down, no floodlights come on, of course, remember, for the majority of the circuit. It will be purely reliant on headlights and headlights alone.
Or maybe some finesse and flair as well. Some showmanship with the light flashing, depending on who you are in this race. And he talked about the certain numbers that I won't agree with. But speaking of number 67, Grid Jokes. He's had a good, decent recovery in this race. He's back up to P7. Got Safso behind him, just gradually reeling him in. But regardless, a good road to recovery from Grid Jokes. A lot of people asking also where on earth Fabio has gone. Game theory, because he is still in the garage. He's not out of this race.
Yeah.
He's 26 laps down. He could still, in theory, rejoin. Might be a bit tricky to win this race, I will confess. But I think the theory is that he actually got bored of racing. He knew he was going to win. So he's just bench pressing his car in the garage. That's my theory anyway.
I agree. I think he's just gone for a quick... There's an episode in the TV show, and if any of you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you'll understand this reference, when Peralta keeps them overnight, the 24-hour case that they have to solve, and all the detectives are asleep, and Terry Jeffords, played by Terry Crews, is just there going, oh, how did everybody sleep? It's like, oh, how long were you asleep? Ah, long enough for me to get a short workout in for about 3 hours. That is Fabio. That is what Fabio is doing right now. Whilst everybody else is out there racing, he is getting a quick gym session, as he'd like to call it, and making sure that he looks good for those podium photos right at the end. Because everybody knows a good pump makes you look fantastic on the podium at the end. Fabio is actually thinking not only an hour and a half ahead, but almost generations ahead of where he should be at the moment. And we're being asked, what car is Ben in? I've got very disappointing news for you. Timo Marduk has once again slept in, so did not make it to the race in time. He is watching from the sidelines. I'm told somewhere. I do not know where. Probably one of the camper vans.
Well, he is probably in a car of some kind. In his head, admittedly, but he's in a car of some description. So it's all in the imagination. No, you're quite right. Fabio is a visionary of his time, it must be said. And I mean, it's no real consolation. He's now 27 laps down, so it's a gruesome workout he's putting himself through. And the garages do have to be made out of tungsten. That's another consideration. Allen and Fimex, though, still going in a little bit of a battle. 0.6 of a second is the gap between them. Gap stabilised elsewhere, particularly in LMP2. The closest is Davide to Nick Huben, but Nick has escaped. He is chasing down Tom Bina. Fastest car on the track in terms of overall lap time and lap time in this stint. Nearly a second quicker than anybody else is the man that's currently P4 on the road in the LMP2s. As Arthur Marden's come into the pit lane again. I'm not entirely sure why. He did this earlier on a significant amount of fuel. He's back in again. Whether he's got a significant amount of damage. Never mind. After Marden's out, we've lost another one. And that 20% rate just got even more gruesome.
Heartbreak for Marden here this afternoon in the IDC EC Sport car, the LMP2 car. Didn't have the best of outings here at Sebring. And one thing I just wanted to bring your attention to here, up at the front of the LMP2 field, is the difference between Hoyer and Chai. Of course, we know Razin is still running up in the lead of this race. 26 seconds or so at the moment, the difference between our two main protagonists in this endeavour. But actually, if you look at the last lap times here, Hoyer was about 0.8 of a second quicker than Chai on the last lap. So starting to make some inroads. And if my maths is correct here, we've got an hour and 20 minutes left in this race. That's about 80 minutes. It's 2-minute lap time, 40 laps. That means he could catch this with 13 laps to spare if he continues to be a second quicker a lap.
Could indeed. Of course, we won't sound the alarm bells just yet. We might well have Razin on a particular strategy where he could box I presume... Ooh, mate, well, we'll try to go one more time if you can. Mishi, I think, definitely will be able to go one more stop in this race. Razdin's going to have a bit more precarious time, hence why the lap times might not be exactly setting the timing sheet ablaze. Someone who is, though, is Nick Huben, who currently sits in P4, looking to really make an impression. So is this man, Ethan Walker. E-Walker on Twitch against Sparks YT. Diligent defense from the McLaren, but the BMW looking completely composed all over the rear end. He's going to be on the outside, going into the left-hander, throwing every single shape counterbalance by Sparks all the while. And E-Walker got to play it patient at the moment. There's a chance into the hairpin corner, 47.5. N95 is flying out there. That is comparative to near pole position times in qualifying. We are rapidly approaching them. On the outside, towards the hairpin turn, is the BMW driver. How brave are you on the brakes? Do you dare to throw the shapes and hold it side by side? You're just going to get washed out by the McLaren. Now we'll try and switch it to the inside. All the while, the door being left open by Sparks, but there's an LMP2 to spoil the party.
It certainly is, but actually goes through without any issues, does that LMP2 traffic, and the battle resumes between the McLaren and the BMW. Of course, two cars that are, well, generated and produced not far from one another, both within Europe, of course, and trying to make their way through, one German, one British. And again, no bias here from the British commentators, I promise you that, as the BMW still does not manage to get past the great British racing machine that is that McLaren car. In fourth place, as it stands, Ethan Walker, still wanting to try and make impressions, though. Of course, he knows once he's past Sparks, up in front will be about 16 seconds up the road, Alex Lynham, or F1 Alex TTV, who is still holding onto that podium, but has dropped off the back of both Littlemore and Boost as it stands. Not quite sure what's gone on, but maybe a difference in the cars we're starting to see here, as Chesnoid Gaming not far off needing a second pit stop of the afternoon, already down to 24% in terms of virtual energy. There's a couple of drivers just above and below him, George Morgan and Quest. Those two drivers, again, equally not too far off over the halfway mark, needing to go in. We're seeing Ethan Walker now sends the move down the inside in towards Sunset Bend. I think he's caught the driver napping. He has caught Sparks napping to the inside of Sunset Bend. That was phenomenal here, Carl. He sent it, he held it, he gets the move done. Spectacular.
Quality move. McLaren throwing the shapes this way and that way. No real way past, though. He's going to try it around the outside, though, is Sparks. That's brave. That's bold. Keeps it on the track. And I tell you what, I raise a glass to a spectacular move from Sparks. That is admirable. What a retaliation after the heroics at Sunset Bend from E-Walker that's caught so many people out. Sparks says, do you know what? I give you this, a compliment to pay off what was a marvellous manoeuvre, an even more show-stopping move at Sebring.
Absolutely spectacular. Just when we thought Sparks was down and out, he turns around and declares that Elvis isn't dead.
Absolutely love it. Here we go. We're on 36th lap in terms of the LMP2 stage. 36 laps of Sebring completed. Razdin still leads, but has a 15% fuel offset compared to Mishi Hoyer. 27 seconds to gap. That is not representative. He needs to make another splash and dash in this race. Then it is all for nothing. Pole sitter versus P2. Tombina, an admirable effort in P3 at the moment as Austrian Andy brings out the yellow flags in P10. Slow car on the inside. I think he's just getting dutifully out of the way of this battle. Nick Huben all over the back of Tombina. Creator Series F1 champion. For those of you wondering, where on earth is all of that? Well, if you didn't watch our F1 2020 Classic Cars rundown at the Monaco Grand Prix, absolutely watch it. Some of the biggest and best names in the F1 community, including F1 esports drivers, nay, even a multiple-time F1 esports champion, donned the streets of Monte Carlo in classic machines on that wonderful, wonderful F1 game. Do check it out. If you want some Creator Series F1 fix, I highly recommend.
I highly concur. An absolutely fantastic broadcast as well. He had a little bit of fun with it, got a little bit creative. We had the one, the only Dan Gilligan leading it, which if you haven't met Dan or seen Dan on a broadcast, he likes to have a bit of fun with it, but he also is a professional voice actor, so really, really good at what he does. And good to see him on the show. And that's a mistake there from Nick95, who didn't necessarily have the best run through the first corner. Tom will try and capitalise on that in these, the opening corners of this circuit through turn 2 and through the chicane that approaches towards the Gurney Bend. And Nick95 just holding on for the time being. I think Tom is playing the smart game. He's playing the long game. He doesn't necessarily want to try and cause anything or upset anything at the moment. There's no ground to be broken here with an hour and 16 minutes left on the clock. We're approaching rapidly that 1 hour mark. They want to try and get to that point, and then they know the countdown quite literally begins until the checkered flag flies. And at the moment, up at the front of both fields, respectively, it's a comfortable lead for both Chai and Busiv. Both cars, the LMP2 and the Ford Mustang, are looking pretty up in the lead of their races. Won't anything disturb them as we start to head in towards sunset at Sunset Bend?
You never know. It's quite possible. Sunset Bend in particular has caught a plethora of drivers out. No less than Marcel Kiefer himself, former F1 Esports driver, got caught up there not once but twice, and that was not so nice. Put him out of the race entirely. Loads of other people have found all kinds of chaos at that particular corner. The final sweeper as Allen and, well, actually, no, I think that's a Ford Mustang even, so it's a BMW versus the Ford Mustang as they head down the straight. That must be Quest against Chesnoid. Through goes the LMP2 of Nick Huben, and there's Fimex and David Allen. That is the other two BMWs that have been fighting, still are fighting. There's another LMP2, traverses the traffic. Through they go, almost squeezed onto the grass, but no harm done. They are through and well on their way. Ryan L83, I will say, has been trying to garner up a response in this race to try and pile on the pressure on Busiv Motorsport at least a little bit. But 5.5 seconds, the Ford Mustang in front has all the answers.
5.5 seconds in front, and actually Busiv is starting to put in faster lap times than both Ryan and Alex behind him. It's a 2:03.3 for Busiv in respect to Ryan's 2:04.1 and Alex's 2:05.1 last time around. But just to keep you updated with everything that is going on, I appreciate there's a lot of people that are just tuning into the stream about now. And first of all, where have you been for the last hour or so? You've missed a fantastic qualifying and an even more chaotic race start. I appreciate it's not our normal go live time. We went a little bit 2 hours earlier than your traditional F1 broadcast, but just to keep you up to date with everything that's going on up and down the field. These are the drivers that are no longer racing, whether by hook or by crook, the drivers that we have lost in the endeavours in Sebring. So first crash was yours sincerely, Jay Marsh. It was then Uncle Tukey that was the next DNF of the afternoon. Marcel Kiefer was the third retirement of this race, with Scotty Douglas, also known as Scotty Designs by the way, dying by the Ford. It was Netball then who found peace in Barry R before Arthur Marden, and the most recent one here, Carl, that we didn't quite catch, TTA Tyrrell Alexander, who has pulled into the pits and retired after what was a sub-optimal showing from him this afternoon. And of course, Infratic still continuing his workout in his long-term garage.
I can confirm he has moved on from exercises as well. He's no longer bench pressing his LMP2 car, which commendable effort. That is some supreme stamina. But on the other side of the coin, he is now doing pull-ups at the front of the garage. So just putting on the showmanship and flair as look to the inside. That's Quest versus Chesnoid. Just spotting a gap, Chesnoid leaving the space, and if you dangle the carrot, Quest will go for it, because it's not just a quest, it will be a conquest in a matter of moments. Show the nose to the inside. How brave are you on the brakes? Does the pressure pay off? Does Chesnoid carry too much speed? Yes, he might, because the Ford sees the opportunity. Ches actually makes the corner absolutely fine, and the LMP2 is going to put that battle to rest. That is one delightful duo, but the other double act as well is Fimex and Devin Allen running P6 and P7 on the road, both in the BMW cars. Quest again shows the nose to the inside, holds it narrow. The equal compromise of that, of course, is you lose the pace overall in the exit phase of the corner. So it's a double-edged sword that you've got to play with, but either way, piling on the pressure, you never know, it can pay off.
I was hoping to start to see a switch in the pace up at the front of the LMGT3 field, but really not much has changed. It was almost identical lap times for both Littlemore and Busiv. No real developments happening there as Alex Lynham again about 9/10 of a second slower. This is the first sort of race that we're seeing him struggle here at Sebring. Not a track that he's driven very often, and not one that he, I'm going to assume, probably prefers in terms of lap times. He is in third place. An uncharacteristic showing from F1 Alex TTV. We're also seeing up at the lead of the LMP2 field with Siege Grid Jokes here trying to send a move on Alex Can't Drive, but again that Pondon face just hanging in the mirrors of Alex Can't Drive. It is probably putting fear, or the fear of God, in towards that man at the moment, as he knows that is probably a more inevitable opportunity to try and get the pass done. I must admit, if Pondon and Luke Sam knew about this being on the car, bravo. If they didn't, I saw Luke Sam in the chat right at the very start we showed off this livery. He was having a good laugh about it. So fair play to Grid Jokes for having a bit of fun with our creators as well.
Exactly. And what better way to sign off an LMP2 stint than to be swiped into the side by Pondon's own face? That is quite something, and Grid Jokes looking to do just that. Maybe without the slight side swipe, just to be quite clear. I doubt that's his full intention, as Well, he's showing all the camera angles here with millimetric and millisecondary precision. Now he's got the slipstream. Alex can't drive, not living up to his name, which is great to see, but holds to the inside, knows that Grid Jokes has the straight line speed on him. Then he's got to hold the brakes. How late do you dare to brake? How much momentum do you have? Can the car comply with the bumps of Sunset Bend? Grid Jokes sweeps round the outside. That's a phenomenal move. I think also, coupled with the fact that Alex can't drive, backed out of that particular exchange. But that is complete confidence in the car at Grid Joke's disposal. He's up into P5 on the road as Tombina peels into the pit lane.
Big Grid Jokes as well, probably not far away from entering into their second stop of the afternoon. You can see he just sat on about, if my maths is correct here, and I can't find him on the screen, which is really awkward. Where is he on our leaderboard? Trying to find it. It's the moment. It's 18% in terms of fuel. The driver with the lowest, Austrian Andy, still with about 5.9 cool. That's 6% in terms of fuel left in that LMP2 car. So we're sort of approaching that second stage where drivers will have to come into the pits for a top up of their go-go juice and maybe some virtual energy as well if you're running in the LMG T3s. But everybody else just playing the patient game. We have got a considerable amount of the LMP2 field being lapped by Mr. Razin Chayak, and in fact all the way up towards Safso has come under the thumb of Mr. Razin Chayak. Everybody below Safso has indeed been lapped. Everybody from, I believe that's me, Davide up, so it isn't Saf, so I've got the names completely wrong once again. It's Tom down who's been lapped. Everybody from Davide up is unlapped or has managed to survive for the time being. See a switch in position between Austrian Andy and Ricky 03 as Austrian Andy does peel into pit lane with about 5% of battery fuel left.
No game magic needed there, as opposed to Circa F1 Alex Lynham. But now under an hour and 10 minutes to go, we are well past the fulcrum point of proceedings here in Sebring. 6:22 local time at the American track, and that means there's going to be all the sunshine laser beams into the final corner at Sunset Bend as we survey. That is Ches making his way out of the pit lane, the number 46. Don't need to call the doctor. This race never needed resuscitating. It's been all-out action all the way through. Still, Fimex and Alan held together by the hip, essentially, conjoined in the art of battle. With an hour and 9 minutes to go, I'm just going to keep listing off times because that seems to be my trademark of the trade. But towards the Almond Straight they go. Take the wide line. Alan learning all the while, but Fimex has all the answers. These two providing a great scrap. While they might not necessarily be the most overtaking, what it does show is a great art of defense, but also the art of piling on pressure. How much they can both get away with.
Absolutely right, and lots still happening here as the LMP2 cars again just starting to make their way through. I believe that's Tom just behind them, and quite a distinct livery to try and keep an eye on here as he's trying to hold off. Davide just behind him. Best lap of 1:48, the last lap of 3:05, of course, into the pits last time around to top up that fuel with just over an hour to go. This is going to be questionable here, Carl, as to whether he's going to be able to make it without another stop. I think he'll have to do a splash and dash unless Tom is able to do some magical fuel saving. Though we do know he has the capability in order to do so. 1:55 last time around. We do see now Davide into the pits as well for the LMP2 field. Sparks and Chesnoid equally in pit road as well. So lots of drivers just getting themselves prepped and ready for one final run, but with the expectation of at least one more pit trip into pit road for a fresh set of go-go. We've heard from Luke Sam as well in the Twitch chat. He said it was a shock. I'm guessing seeing himself on Grid Joke's car, which is even the more funny considering I saw it chase me down quite a number of times at Paul Ricard yesterday as Grid Jokes didn't make it to the end of the race. Oh, well, what a shot this is. Oh my, yes, Pondon covering, what's that, about 20% of screen coverage. Pondon, free marketing for you, you're welcome.
Free real estate, absolutely. And Luke Sam, even better news is that, there you are on the left-hand side, that was beautiful, is that you can take partial credit. If Grid Jokes finishes where he is in P5, you were a part of the reason why he did that. So take that on board. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the field, Ryan L83, is he catching up? The answer is not really. Both equalising each other in terms of pace. Gap now down to just over 5 seconds. So he's whittled it away, 10th by 10th. But no more than that. Devin Allen and Fimex still having a massive scrap for what is now P5 on the road, but still no more than that because, oh, McLaren off, that's George Morgan. George Morgan off in the infield, but no real conundrums, no damage, just emotional. He'll make his way back out on track, and commentary corner still reigns strong.
Certainly does. It wouldn't be an appearance by the commentary team member without a couple of spins here, there, and everywhere. Ask me how I know. But we move forward. We'll look to impress next time. We never want to upshadow all the drivers, do we, Carlo? Especially when we go and race and, you know, like yourself in F1 and win and get into pole and get all the achievements in a singular race. We wouldn't want to do that in Le Mans Ultimate. We're much more caring when it comes down to looking after our drivers. We do see Ricky03 peeling into pit road at 4% VE and coming to a complete and utter stop there. I wonder if he's not set his pit strategy there and he's just doing it before he peels into the pits.
Smart man. Fair enough. At least it isn't an immediate smiting and disqualification like a certain other game in the motorsports hemisphere. Ricky03 into the pit lane as we survey a Ford Mustang. That is Quest. Had plenty of battery still. He's going to have to make another stop in a matter of moments' time. What will potentially be, I'd probably say he has to stop twice, but regardless, it will be one of his final stops in the race. As for the race lead, that's the conundrum that I'm trying to face at the moment. Rasenchai on 24.7% fuel left. Again, means nothing. But Michi Hoyer, I think on about 40%, I'm tempted to say, if my telemetry readings are correct. So again, still that 15% offset. I'm trying to think if Razin has to make only one more stop in this race, or if he does need to stop again. If he does need to stop again, if calculations do fall into that core, surely you keep the scrub tyres on, go for a splash and dash, make up the difference, as Davide De Scipio's had a big off. A massive moment for Davide, and he's out. Another driver falls foul to Sebring. Make that now 9 drivers out of this race. And there's Davide, and he's just, after that, he's just parked up. He's well and truly toast. Sunset Bend claims another victim in this race. He just wanted the sunshine laser beams.
I was about to ask, do we class that as another car that Sunset Bend has taken? Because I think it's going to be clutching at straws to say that at the least. But hey, if he's, you know, if the writing's on the wall, the neon lights are there, you know, maybe we account for it at this time of asking. We watched Devon Allen at the moment in the BMW, rather striking red and white livery, one that you certainly won't miss out on the track at the moment, and one that you're just trying to get your way past. We are still waiting for that sun to set, of course, with just over an hour of in-game time. More yellow flags as Ricky03 again has had an off. Where's he? Had a bit of a spin. I'm assuming that might be as he's trying to get that car around in towards the pits, because he's down in 10th place. But with 3.9% of his fuel load left. We've also had another driver into the pits. That's going to be Grid Jokes, pulling his Pondimobile in towards the pit road to get some fuel into his car as well. And maybe some fresh tyres for the final run. That is yet to be decided.
Absolutely. All the strategies coming out to play now. It's a completely different ball game, endurance racing, of course, compared to the F1 side of Creator Series, where it is attack, 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 maximum pace all the way through. Razin clears the GT3 race leader, LMP2 leader, GT3 race leader, now line astern on the track. Rasenchai, Boosted Motorsports, both in shot. Through the right-hander we go, and Ryan's lost a plethora of time. Our producer in our ear is, well, quite correct on that one. 13 seconds. Now the gap, make that 13.5 seconds. So there must have been a massive mistake on this lap. Alex Lynham now 5 seconds within the Corvette ahead. So a big moment in the context of this race. Here's the replay, catches the curb on the inside, rear end complains, does extremely well to keep it out of the barriers, and albeit a bit of a tank slapper, but no harm done. The number 64 Corvette carries on his way, and that is a memory that Zulane will remember.
Absolutely right. And one thing that's really interesting is I wonder if that is just the tyres starting to fall somewhat off a cliff here at the moment. I wonder if he didn't take them in his initial pit stop, and that could be why we're trying to figure out, well, that could be why he had that initial spin. If the tyres are starting to give up, he's planning on taking them at his next stop, but he's still got about, what is that, 30-40% left in his tank in terms of virtual energy, so he is able to go for a longer time. But one thing I'm keeping an eye on, as we watch a massive lock up there. And who is that going to be? That's going to be, I believe, Alex Can't Drive. It is indeed. As he tries to get past the BMW, I think we get a replay here. As he tries to get past, goes towards the outside. Door, I think, going to be somewhat slammed on him. No, it's just a little bit. Yeah, here we go. Replay of what happened. Trying to get past the BMW. Apologies if I threw my producer a little bit in the mud there, trying to figure out what was going on. Tries to go around the outside, touches the grass, then tries to cut back in. Car just says no, and I think to avoid hitting the BMW, he locks up and tries to take it on himself.
MOTH, ladies and gentlemen. That is an acronym, and be careful when saying it, but the main thing is the mother of all flat spots is what Alex Can't Drive is going to be feeling. There's Safso now, has hauled himself right up to the back of the LMP2 car, also courtesy in the number 83 car. That's less confusing in this case. We know exactly what car there is to follow. To the outside goes Safso. Alex can't drive, might not fight this one too hard, but he is going to close it. Safso to the inside. That's brave, that's bold, that's absolutely beautifully judged by Safso. Committed move all the way through to switch it to the inside. That's P5 on the road, and Alex in the ailing car behind put up no fight there.
That is the reason why Safso is a Creator Series champion, and I think we're starting to see Safso of days of old come out again. He's making moves that are committed, they are brave, and they are pure wizardry here at the Sebring International Raceway, and he makes himself up to P5 at the moment. That AF Corsa car just trying to run his way through as much as he can. Tom's had a moment though. Yellow flags out in the first and third sector. I wonder what's happened there. Tom Bina, who's usually so cool, calm and collected, just briefly bringing out the yellow flags on circuit. Again, I wonder if this might be tied. We're going to get a replay. Is it turn one, falling foul? Oh, has he got a little bit deep? Oh, contact between himself and Busiv. That's the LMGT3 leader.
Goodness me, the man that won on the Sakir outer loop last time out in the top class, Tom Bina, putting the GT3 conversation into complete chaos. Ryan L83 now has gained 10 seconds back on Busiv Motorsports, who now have egregious flat spots on his tyres as a result of that exchange. You can see the gap whittling down 10th after 10th after 10th. Ryan now spots blood in the water. Alex Lynham spots blood in the water on his end as well. If you thought GT3s was a foregone conclusion, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
This has just opened up the double-edged sword that is the LMGT3 field at the moment. It's Ryan Littlemore with a self-caused spin. And this time around, it was a spin caused by an LMP2 car that has brought the leaders back together. And I can't tell if this is my eyes playing tricks on me here, Carl, or does that front bumper on the Ford Mustang just look a little bit crooked on the left-hand side? It's dipping down further on towards the circuit. So I wonder if there's been a little bit of contact the Mustang has caused in the opening stages of this race. But the clock has ticked over to less than an hour to go in the closing stages. But as it stands, it is 6:52 in local sim time. That is, 18:52 if you use military time. But that means the sun is starting to set here. We will soon have very minimal light to see, but you in the background, just looming, is the bright yellow Corvette of Ryan Littlemore.
Speaking of 52 chicken nuggets, that's the amount that Infratic is eating after his crazy workout. Through the final corner, Sunset Bend, goes Busiv Motorsports for what will be his trying to do the maths and try and stall time. That will be now his 42nd time in this race, onto his 43rd tour of Sebring circuit. Racing on his 47th tour, under 10% on the virtual energy, quote unquote, which is actually fuel, but says energy, just ignore it. Michi Hoyer has significantly more and has more pace in the tank. I suspect Razin knows he's just got to save a tiny little bit. We've almost lost a third of our drivers in this race as well. Just to go through the graveyard that Sebring has brought, primarily down to Sunset Bend. Jay Marsh was the first driver to retire. Tukey was then second. Marcel Kiefer, even the best of the best, caught out by Le Mans Ultimate, and TK and I know that all too well. You then got Scotty Designs, by the way, who had a big old cuddle with Barry R, with Nebwall also out of proceedings. Arthur Marden, Terrell, Alexander TTA, Davide DeCipio, and Fabio is still doing workouts in the garage. I think he's doing split squats now.
Yeah, I think actually Bulgarian split squats. He told me, he texted me a minute ago and actually just showed me, and unfortunately I can't show it on stream because, well, yeah, it's a really dangerous one to try and open. Never trust Fabio when he texts you, realistically. But actually, I have heard that Scotty also does love a cuddle, realistically. I got a great one in London. He came down to see when we went to the Simon charity match of all things. You know, fantastic game. Saw Ben and sorry, his name's Meraki. But yeah, interesting to see how the race is unfolding. Your comment on chicken nuggets throw me. Are you baffling me here today, Carl? You're not making it easy on me for the first time. In the Creator Series LMU box, we see a great pass there. I believe by the Mustang, it's not the Mustang, the McLaren getting their way past the BMW, which I believe to be Formula Momo, as we're watching on board with. Of course, they've got Quest just behind in the Mustang trying to chase them down. That's where the M came from in my mouth, trying to figure out how everybody's getting on. But as we said, we're approaching in towards darkness. A whole new issue and challenge will approach our drivers. As we see Tom here getting overtaken by another of the LMP2 cars, just diving towards the inside through the chicane of the exit of turn 2. And lovely stuff there. I believe that's with the number 95. That's Nick 95. And Tom Brower in the number 11, as he likes to say.
Indeed, the number 11, Don, the orange overlord, in the slipstream. Again, yeah, blue flags mean diddly squat here. Tom Biener can still throw the shapes. He can still go for the overtake if he wants to. If he feels like he has the pace, he absolutely will go for it. Although, we'll do better to just follow the car ahead, learn a thing or two, get those lap times back up again. Had a few conundrums in laps gone by, including brief contact with the race leader of the GT3 class. Boosted Motorsports, 5.5 seconds remains the gap between himself and Ryan L83, who will be on his case, both on relatively similar energy amounts as well. So Ryan has actually done extremely well to save the energy as much as he can and put himself back in the conversation for the win in this category. Razin, though, is into the pit lane. Race leader in for his second stop of what is now turning into nighttime proceedings, so he'll try and shine in the spotlight of Sebring. 56, nearly 55 minutes to go here in the 2.4 hours of Sebring. The real question is, can he make it to the end? Does he have to stop again? And as a result, will this man, despite the ballast, steal a bit of a march on the competition?
Question that will be asked and answered in just over 55 minutes time. One thing that I might have drivers might have thought out here in terms of pit strategy, especially when it gets colder on the circuit. Tyres do better, they last longer, they'll have a little bit more compromised grip in necessary than daytime running. But actually, they last longer, they don't burn up as quickly as they would do at the moment. The current track temperature is about 28.3 degrees. Air temperature stayed a lovely and steady 22. But when that starts to drop, as the nighttime running starts to kind of come over the circuit, that is when we'll start to see the tyres maybe come into their own a little bit. And I wonder if drivers have saved a set for this final hour whilst we see the whole of the moon over the circuit. That'll be the play, I think, that a lot will go for as we watch on board with Nick95 just coming out of pit road, or shortly will be heading into pit road. My apologies, as he gets himself accustomed to everything else. Try to keep an eye on everything going on. And we've had a question in the YouTube chat. Husky Gaming asks, the cars that have the little purple strips next to their name, does that mean they have the fastest lap or something else? You've got it in absolutely one answer. It is the fastest lap of the race, currently held by Nick95 up in the LMP2 field. He's done a 1:47.578. And in terms of the LMP3 field, it's Boosiv Motorsport, Lewis Boosiv, who's done a 2-minute 2:316. They are the fastest drivers on this circuit at the moment in terms of their respective fields.
Not the most consistent, though. Boosiv Motorsports lost 4 seconds to Ryan L83 on the previous lap. Another mistake, falling the way of the Mustang. And I'd have to agree, I think it is a slight bit on the front bumper on the left-hand side that Boosiv Motorsport is carrying. And Ryan, again, smells blood in the water. Gap now under 2 seconds, despite the offset in energy and despite almost certainly having this race signed, sealed, and delivered in his class. Just had to bring it home. Now, suddenly, the conversation gets even more grisly and cutthroat in the context of the Mustang. We move to Ryan L83, who, well, won, of course, at the Sakir outer layout, looking to make it 2 from 2.
Absolutely, and can't forget Alex Lynham, the one in Spa, and hasn't had the best of days to remember. He's still sat in third in what he believed to be the fastest car at the moment, the BMW, run by, well, at least 6 drivers, if not more. I think it is 7, including Tukey, that found a swift exit from the circuit, but none of them higher than third place at the moment. A couple of McLarens in there being run by Sparks and George Morgan. Of course, the Fords being run by our race leader at the moment, Boosiv Motorsport and Quest as well, with the addition of Scotty Designed, by the way, who found himself having a good hug earlier on. With just over 53 minutes left in this race session, the sun starting to set, the headlights come on to these race cars. We ignore what Lightning McQueen says. Race cars do have headlights.
And, well, Ryan, again, just whittling that gap down. It's getting closer and closer to the 1 second mark. Now the Ford is firmly in his crosshairs. And get ready, because there's about to be some rather intense CQC. We see an LMP2 car weaving on the straight behind. So I imagine get some warmth into their tyres. I'm trying to see who's pit recently. I'm trying to see if it is Rasenchai, and it is Rasenchai, going slightly wide out of the first corner. So he, I assume, has gone onto new tyres again, trying to invigorate some grip into them. But like I say, the question is, will he get to the end of the race with that battery? Has he judged it to perfection in the number 30 LMP2 car? As number 95, Nick Huben, I'm assuming has gone into the pits, unless he's made a mistake. Yes, indeed, into the pit lane. No real conundrums besides. And he will strap on what will no doubt be another fresh set of tyres, fill the car up to the brim, and go to the end of the race. This is tantalizing, though, particularly in the GT3 class. Ryan is hunting down the race lead.
You're absolutely right. And as Alexis says in the Twitch chat, the Ford kills its tyres. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing here, where Ryan's managed to conserve some of the tyre life for the majority of this race so far. I think Busev might have just abused the Ford Mustang as much as he possibly could do to try and chase him down. There's a massive virtual energy difference, though, between Ps1 and Ps2 on the circuit. Busev and little more, between 14.5% to Ryan's 6% in terms of VE that stands in the Corvette. Both will be able to get to the end of the race on a full tank at this moment in time, but one to try and keep an eye as we get our way through. We've been told in the YouTube chat as well, Holden, Nick95, had to slow into the pits to avoid a track limits penalty. Easy to do here, Carl, with the the pit exit be on the exit of that flowing left-hander, sorry, the flowing right-hander through, I believe, just before Le Mans.
Right. Meanwhile, right on cue, Ryan L83 into the pit lane. No doubt his final stop of the race, and also to compound Mr. Booster's misery while he abused the tyres enough previously. What also happened, of course, was the contact with Tom Biener. That would have done no well the favours to his tyre wear, as again, these two conjoined by the hip. Fimex and Alan of Xenix Forge Racing, they're back at it again. A bonsai bonanza from the two BMWs. As a yellow flag, Austrian Andy's had a bit of a moment in Sector 1. Just loses a place, does carry on his merry way. There he is in the background, rejoining off of the grass. Razin, 1 minute and 8 seconds currently behind Michi Hoyer, who will have to pit as well, bearing in mind he will lose that track position once again. But how much pace and how much strategy has Michi Hoyer managed to execute, with the ballast? Brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a cracking final 50.
It certainly is indeed. The sun continues to set here in Sebring. The headlights well and truly becoming a main form of lighting the circuit, with no floodlights around the circuit to try and keep our drivers entertained. And we still see the battle between Fimex and Alan. They are not being separated by an inch or a mile as we make our way through over, or nearly eclipsing 2 hours of racing here, about half an hour away from that at this moment in time. But through the opening corner, I wonder if we're starting to see a movement here by Alan, just happy to sit behind, play second fiddle for the time being, and wait for the move to sort of come to him when the tyres start to fall off a little bit more. Through that weird chicane section before Gurney Bend, the long right-hander that you'll see in a moment, and down towards the hairpin, an equal overtaking opportunity, which you've seen a few drivers attempt during the course of this race. I won't say pull off this race, because most of them have ended either going deep or locking up, as we've seen in, well, laps gone by.
Big news flash here at Sebring in the GT3 class. Ryan L83 is out of this race. I know, complete shock. It's a seismic wave that has been propelled through Sebring. I'm not sure if we're able to get a replay of what happened. It might have been picked up too late, but he's out of this race completely. That means a third of the grid has fallen foul. He's in the pit lane for whatever reason, completely DNF. An absolutely devastating scenario. And Busev Motorsport is punching the air, but he's still got a challenger. Alex Lynham in the BMW. He will be on his case. Under 5 seconds is the gap. We know he knows the GT3 cars so well. It's not all sealed and shut yet.
You're absolutely right. I'm actually going to go and try and pull up Ryan's stream to figure out what is going on. Again, it could be something as simple as a hardware crash to figure out what exactly went on here. But the battle up at the front, oh my goodness, that's deep in towards pit road by Alan. And certainly one to try and keep an eye on. As it stands as well, E. Walker on the podium. So that is certainly one to try and keep an eye on. I'm looking as he peels into the pits here. I'm watching with Ryan Littlemore's stream on my other monitor. I'm just trying to figure out what has gone on inside that Corvette cockpit.
I'm trying to figure out as well. Answers on a postcard, answers in either Twitch or YouTube chat. Please do let us know. Whatever the case, it now becomes from a 3 to a 2-horse race in GT3s. As we survey the number 95, Nick Huben, and here is second place in GT2. That is Alex Lynham. F1 Alex on the back of the Mustang. I would assume that is Quest, purely because Busev has that distinct blue blur colour on his car of our resident hedgehog. But also because Quest down in P8 at the moment, that is lap traffic, and Alex has to make the move happen. You can see how much more confident he is on the brakes. So we'll want to make that move happen equally on 7.1%. He's got more virtual energy than what Busev Motorsports has, to be fair. So he's had a very good little strategy, and that means E. Walker as well. Quietly been going about his business, was particularly proficient in the first stint when it came to pace, but he's now up into a podium place.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Apologies for the jump that I just saw there. I've just got and had a look at what has happened to Ryan L83. There is a series of unfortunate events that even Lemony Snicket would have been proud of, and I will run you through them in as much detail as I possibly can. First and foremost, he peels into pit road, accidentally disables auto clutch, presses the button, turns it off. He gets into pit road. He tries to drive into his pit box in first gear, goes a little bit past the extremities, doesn't get enough recognition when the game will try and drag him in towards his pit slot. He's now stuck in first gear because he's got no clutch bound. He can't get out of that position. He's stuck between pretty much 45 degrees to a wall. He's trying to get himself sorted, turns to the left and ends up pointing another 90 degrees in terms of pit road. At fear of panicking and getting stuck in pit lane, he retires and bows out of the session. So really unfortunate series of events.
I mean, when it comes to explaining DNFs from Le Mans Ultimate, that's probably the most dramatic conclusion I think I've ever heard. I've got to say, plaudits to you. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's not all right for Ryan, but it's all right now elsewhere. Michi Hoyer peels into the pit lane. Rasin Chai will assumably take the lead back in this race, as there is Rasin on the left-hand side. Through he goes. Michi, I assume, has gone for either scrubbed tyres or he's had the stint of his life, because look at this. The gap is now going to be only a matter of seconds, unless he did go for new tyres as well. We'll watch that delta with great interest, but Michi Hoyer will have refueled the fuel, will get back to proceedings as nighttime descends on Sunset Bend. Rasin Chai leads, Michi Hoyer in P2 with ballast, but it really is game on. 3/4 of an hour to go. It's Hoyer versus Chai.
Absolutely, lots still to go through this race. 45, 3/4 of an hour, and as it stands, Rasin still leading. Hoyer just slightly behind as well. They'll try and continue their way through. Safso in P4, if we try and keep an eye on everything going on, because at the moment, he is trying to challenge down for a podium place in this race. He has Nick 95 in front of him. The gap looking close to 10 seconds between the two drivers. But if I know Safso, he can try and drag this down, albeit with another pit stop in hand.
Michi's not letting Rasin get away with this. I think he has gone for the scrub tyres. That means he'll have pace right out of the gate. Not only that, but a 20% offset now when it comes to the fuel that he has. So he can push all the way to the end. He can force Rasin to push harder than he needs to. Keep the gap at 7 whole seconds if possible. And that will put him right in the conversation for the race lead towards the end, if not even further past that point, to be honest with you. He's got plenty of time to work with, Rasin, but he's got to have his wits about him.
He absolutely does, and it is still a commanding lead for Chai. Hoyer will do everything in their power to try and chase down. We watch Alex line him in towards the pits, as is Boosted Motorsport, and now the gap starts to decrease ever so slowly. You can see there, Lewis just pulling his way out of the pit road, down towards Sunset Bend. Alex not far behind, as they've both been dropped off of their marks, and you can see just how close this battle is going to be to try and chase down in towards the extremities and the final runs of this race, because Alex will be giving it his all, knowing that the possible win is on the cards.
Winner in Belgium in the GT3 class, winner potentially over in America as well. Time will tell, 43 minutes to go. Salute, if you know who used to don that number, I salute him as well. But through goes Alex Lynham, and immediately weaving, that means new tyres have been strapped on to that BMW car. Here's our race leader though, in the LMP2 class, Rasin Chai, gap at now nearly 8 seconds. So he's not going to be saving in a hurry, he's going to have that gap. Has the new tyres to play with, I assume from the way he was weaving vigorously after his pit stop. Michi on the scrub tyres does have to bear that burden, but does have significant advantages in energy. Nick Hoban in P3, N95, with Tom Biener in P4, Davide in 5th, Safso in 6th place, is in the pit box currently to do his final pit stop, has calculated it very well, has driven a very reserved race, and that means he's been able to save the fuel and will be able to push all the way to the end now. That promotes Grid Jokes up into P6. Alex can't drive, and I assume Ricky 03 will try and follow suit.
I mean, you're absolutely right, and we're getting to that stage of the race, aren't we, where the fuel saving that you've done in the first best part of 2 hours will start to pay off. The the lift and coast that you've done right from the very start. You see the rewards start to reap their way forwards here, but you've got to keep an eye on this battle for essentially what's P2 on circuit at the moment. But of course, Sparks considerably lower in terms of fuel, so will have the lighter car as it stands with just over 41 minutes left in this race. The brakes begin to glow, and one of the most beautiful things about this sim is just seeing the little details that the developers have put into it to allow spectators and broadcasters to make it look stunning. The glow of the brakes, the headlights, and how they react to the surfaces around them. It is just stunning from start to finish. But one thing I did want to mention, just very briefly, we know we're now well and truly in nighttime. We can see that it is dark here in America. The grip and the track temperature that we have at the moment, it was 28, 29 degrees just about 10, 15 minutes ago. We're already down to 24, 23 degrees on the track. So it's starting to get to that point now where tyres can go longer than they were in the offset.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more with you. It's honestly, that might not sound like a lot. Again, 4 degrees, what is that? But in track temperature terms, that is really significant. What it does mean is it's going to take longer for those on newer tyres to get temperature into their tyres as well. Still weaving on the straight is F1 Alex, currently sitting in P2. Sparks has got another pit stop to make, but he's all over the back of him. Lighter car, also much more grippy car at the moment. And Alex is a bit of a demon to deal with, whether he lets through Sparks because he knows he has the overall pace, or whether he just weathers the storm because he knows that once his tyres are up to temperature, he will be flying. He is closing in on Boosted Motorsports. What was a 5.5 second gap seems to be the gap of the day, apparently, for GT3s. Now under 4.5 seconds. So Alex finding plenty of purchase in that BMW car at the moment.
Just to keep an eye as well on the average energy used over the last few laps. And we said this right at the very start of the show, that Razin Chai, one of the heaviest burners across the LMP2 field in terms of fuel use, looking at about 4.1% of their fuel tank used per lap. The lowest around 3.5%, and that's Safso that's been running that fuel-saving endeavour from the very start. In terms of the GT3s, very similar story, 4.1%, 4% in and around the field. It was actually the lowest is actually 4% up and down the GT3 field. So not a major difference in terms of fuel saving being shown on that field. That's a bit of a moment there between Tom and Alex Liner as the LMP2 tries to just squeeze their way past here. But you see the dirt that's being kicked up on this circuit as drivers go to the extremities of track limits, especially in these grassy and dirty periods where it's just being flung up in towards a driver's vision. And Alex there getting the better of Tom as he dives into pit road himself for what will be their final stop.
That was, well, I mean, that was a very, very unhappy F1 Alex. Immediately flashed a BMW flashing their lights. It's pretty realistic, honestly. Under 40 minutes to go. Here at Sebring, we are well and truly descending into the night time. Absolutely lovely stuff. And again, I have to just echo your sentiments in terms of the intricacies, the attention to detail, the flecks of dirt that are picked up during the whole course of this race. I believe there is a wiper button that you can incur at any one time, and activate for that matter, to get rid of that particular dirt as a light flash from the McLaren to signify there is a faster LMP2 car coming through. Don't fight it too hard, we'll just compromise our races. And again, it's that level of sportsmanship in endurance racing that you absolutely love to see. In LMP2, the gap now 11.2 seconds, so Razin might be burning the energy, or fuel for that matter, but he's absolutely flying.
Trying to do some maths here to figure out how much energy is Razin on, because the colours that is given to us by the dashboard is a light green on white text, which makes it lovely to try and read from a screen. I think it's at about 80, I'm going to say 84% if it looks, or 64%. I can't quite tell the difference between the two. I'm going to say that's 64. So let's do some maths here. He's using 4% per lap. 60, that's about 62.7. Oh, 64.3 for Razin. Thank you very much, producer in the background. So 10 laps would be 41%. Add another, 10 laps? No, 5 laps to take that up to 60. So 15 laps at 2 minutes a lap gets you roughly 33, 34 minutes. This is going to be close in terms of fuel for Razin, if my maths is correct.
He's on the newer tyres, though. I think he's got to realise that he can do some fuel saving, maybe just get in the gap for safety so he doesn't get suckered up into battle, and he can start to do that lift and coast and get that fuel and get that car to the end of the race. I'm sure there is a game plan. Razin is a smart driver. We've seen it many, many times on the F1 side. We've seen it a bunch of times as well here on the Le Mans Ultimate side. So he knows what the score is that he needs to settle. Gap at the front of GT3, excuse me, now under 4 seconds. So Boosted Motorsports, despite having all of the flair at the first part of the race, in the colder conditions as the darkness descends on Sebring, Alex Lynham is just starting to become the Dark Knight he needs to be.
Yeah, we've done some napkin maths in the background just to improve on what we were saying earlier. By our estimations, about 1.5 laps short of time by our maths up here in the commentary box will be Razin Chai. So certainly some Leica required. On the flip side, Hoyer will be able to go full throttle until the end. 81.2% of fuel in that tank, and will be able to push until the end. But interesting to note, even over the last 3 laps, Razin is not lifting and coasting. He's not got to that stage yet. And the longer he leaves this before starting those endeavors in lifting and coasting, the more extreme the Leica will have to be. It's a double-edged sword. You don't want to do it too early where you'll be caught, but actually if he leaves it too late, he's going to be really under pressure to lift and coast at the end of this race when he knows Hoyer can go full throttle and chase him down.
Precisely, yeah. I think he's hoping that N95, who currently sits P3 and is closing in on Michi Hoyer, can just ruffle his feathers and make some moves and lose them a bit of time battling. That's his aim of the game. Because Nick and both him and Davide in P3 and 4, they can make it to the end of the race, if my math serves me correctly, on the current fuel that they have. Just about. And, well, we've got confirmation. Michi Hoyer is more than safe. 13.7, nearly 14 seconds behind the race leader. But he's more than safe. So pressure can be piled on. We are on board with Sparks, who was all over the back of Alex Lynham, but is going to have to make his pit stop at the end of this lap, if not the next one. Alex well on his way. Gap between the race leader in GT3 and second place is now 2.6, 2.7 seconds. It is closing in.
That it certainly is. Sparks now in towards pit road for the final run of time. We see him all fuel up. He doesn't have to go to 100% though at this moment because he knows it'll be safe with a little bit less than a maximum. The question will be, where does he drop down to? He's got E. Walker, he's got Fimex trying to chase him down, the likes of Devon Allen as well. Will be hot on his heels, if not overtaking him when in pit road. We've also been told that Hoyer has got capacity to be able to push it at the latter stages of this race. He's about a lap positive in terms of fuel in that LMP2 car. Of course, they're unrestricted, and he's using less than he needs to. He's still been doing about 3.8% in terms of fuel over the last few laps. He knows he's got some left in the tank to try and unleash this, but I wonder if he's trying to play mind games with Razin. Razin knows that he's got a distance to go to, but I wonder the moment that Razin starts doing some lifting and coasting, and Hoyer will be able to tell this in terms of telemetry, that's when he'll start to apply the pressure and make Razin want to go faster again, potentially entering some mind games into the situation.
Twitch audience also applying some mind games as Blue Fox, welcome in the Twitch chat, says £20 on Hoyer. That is a bold bet, but it's not too bold, I would argue, particularly with the statistics that we have at the moment. Gap now 15.5 seconds, so Razin still pushing very, very hard indeed. He's got to think about fuel saving soon. We're nearly half an hour away from the end of this race. He's got plenty of time to rectify the issue, but he will run out sooner rather than later. He's just got to play it smart. Throughout the context of this race, we're also asked, does Hoyer have the 50 kg ballast? Yes, he does. So really illustrates an even more incredible effort with the extra weight on the car that he is in the position that he's in to be in the conversation to win this whole race.
What I'm hearing here, Carl, is obviously if Hoyer's second place with this much ballast, I think for round 4 of the Le Mans Ultimate Championship over the Crate Series, I think Razin needs to have 50 kilos added as well. You know, only to make things fair. If you're adding, you know, ballast to fast drivers, I say chuck it on Ryan, chuck it on Alex Lynham in the LMGT3s, maybe someone boosted as well, drag them back down to the likes of E. Walker, put someone Chai's car, or have a really balanced grid up and down the field. You know, if we're going to play that game, I think that'll be a fun one to maybe try and get involved with. But whilst we're here, folks, with just over half an hour left in this race, we've endured just under 2 hours worth of racing so far. 32 minutes and 57 seconds remain here at the 2.4 hours of Sebring for the Creator Series. Let us know in the live chat who you're cheering on, whether that be good or for bad, as we have lost over a third of the field during this race. And if you are just tuning in, going, what? This isn't F1, this isn't our usual evening broadcasting time. First of all, you're right. Welcome to the World Endurance Championship. And just a reminder of who has, well, found their fate with the barriers and or pit lane here this afternoon. It was yours sincerely, Tukey, Marcel Kiefer, unfortunately not necessarily having the best race himself. Scotty Designs lived by the ford and died by the ford here this afternoon here in Sebring. It was Neball as well that didn't necessarily have a race to remember, with Arthur Marden as well finding fate at Sebring. Tyrrell Alexander, TTA, along with Davide DeCipio, Ryan Littlemore, and of course Infratic, now moving on to doing some one-armed push-ups in his garage.
Oh man, that right there, that is a brutal exercise. I don't envy him. I don't envy him whatsoever, but he makes it look effortless. Unbelievable. My real question is, what's the next part of his diet afterwards? Anyway, that's a question for another day. Here we are, 8:15 local time, and just to echo what TK said, it's a wonderful place to be here in Le Mans Ultimate. But it's not just that. If it's your first time here in Creator Series, or maybe you're a bit unfamiliar with what we're about, well, let me tell you, it's not just Le Mans Ultimate. It's not just endurance racing. If you like the iRacing scene, if you are a Formula 1 aficionado, you best believe we are all about those scenes as well. So do keep in touch with us, do follow on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, keep up to date with us on Instagram and all the other plethoras of social medias that we have, because best believe it, once the 2026 cars come out on the Formula 1 game, better believe we will be there.
We absolutely will. We await the DLC news with eager anticipation. I really hope it comes out soon, because I'm getting bored of the F125 cars, which is weird to say. I can't wait for Super Clipping to make its way in towards F126 League Racing, and us to have to explain to everybody at home why that car suddenly decreased by about 50 mile an hour as they head into 130R. But back to endurance racing, because that is what our focus is on here at the moment. Alex Lynham, the gap up towards the front, just 2 seconds and some change. It's Ford Mustang versus BMW M4. It's America versus Germany in American soil, taking home what will be the win here in round 3 of Creator Series Endeavour into Le Mans Ultimate.
TK, I've got some fabulous news as well, because of all
tell.
the retirements that have happened. George Morgan in commentary corner, it's in the top 10. Yes! In the McLaren, the number 31, there he is, being grounded by an LMP to ignore. That never happened, that's AI. But George Morgan is well on his way in the darkness of the night, and he's never gave up, despite the technical gremlins that ailed him at the beginning of this race. We knew that many people would fall foul to this circuit, and that they have. That is why he's in a top 10 position, and that is why it could still yet get better for him as it starts to wear out on other drivers as we get into those final 30 minutes. The concentration needs to be on overdrive.
That it does. All focus now until the end, and a massive achievement for George Morgan to try and grab himself back in towards the top 10. A resilient and resourceful drive from the young Welshman as he makes his way, his first appearance as well, in towards the LMU Creator Series. He liked to claim it was his first ever appearance in the Creator Series as well. But we must not forget the F2 days of old, where he took part in a race alongside Joe Granu at Portimao, and it was myself that came out on top of the commentators, which was a very good achievement, and one that I won't shut up about, because it's kind of a nice reminder. I ended up in P4 in that race. If Joe wasn't there, it would have been a podium, so I'm a little bit fuming. But hey, we move past it, we move on. It was nearly 2 years ago now. Up at the front of the LMP2 field, it is still Razin Chai, 20 seconds in the lead of Michi Hoyer, and still pushing at 4.1% of fuel per lap. At what point, Carl, do you turn around and go, I probably have to start fuel saving here? Because we've only got, what, 28 minutes and a bit left in this race.
Now probably should start thinking about it. Honestly, I mean, he's under 50% battery fuel, excuse me. 42.7%, I believe that's saying, if my eyes serve me correctly. He's got to start doing it now. He's got a 20-second gap. He's got plenty of time. He's just got to judge the deltas. Even if it's a couple of seconds a lap he loses, if he regains the fuel in that time, it will all pay off at the end of this race. If it means he has to crawl into the pits and make another pit stop, he could be as low down as P4, P5 in this race, and that would be devastating in the context of what has been such a crucial race.
You're absolutely right. We've got just over 28 minutes left in this as it stands. Razin Chai still holding on to the lead of the LMP2 field. Boosted Motorsport still 2 seconds to the advantage of Alex Lynham. But I tell you what, Carl, one person that I really wanted to speak to since the incident that occurred, Mr. Ryan Littlemore, I believe, is waiting for a chat in the interview waiting room. If we're able to give him a little drag in and a little chat from himself, I'll drag him across. We'll have a little chat with Ryan. Ryan, first of all, welcome in to the commentary box. Talk to us, because there was a moment in that race that it should have been yours. And I went back and looked at the VOD and tried to decipher what I could. In my best of guesses, it looked like you got stuck.
Yeah, so during the race, my wheel disconnected in numerous places on the circuit.
Ooh.
It happened again in the pit lane, which glided me into the wall when obviously, you know, I had a bit of an angle because of the LMP2. And then because of that, my button I have for my reverse to just adjust myself didn't work. So I was screwed either way. So it's a technical issue. It's a bit annoying, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But hey ho, it is what it is, mate.
But Ryan, question: when you had that half, I saw because we saw you on the replay, you had a half spin. Was that down to a technical issue, or also how was that Corvette to drive as well? How was the balance on that thing during the race?
I mean, in the night, it's absolutely lovely, as obviously I got pole position in qualifying, but I think in the day conditions, it's really bad on the rears for temperature. I was getting about 95 degrees on the rears from the middle to the end of the stint, which is why I half spun it a few times out of, I believe it's turn 5 or turn 6. And the massive disadvantage I have compared to the Ford, because I know the Ford's the car of choice around here in the Beamer, is virtual energy. I had to mega fuel save in the second stint to try and mimic the same stint length as Busiv and Alex were doing. It's just because of the BOP, unfortunately, with the Corvette. So it is what it is. I mean, I tried my best, but wanted to be a bit different in terms of car choice because there was a theme going on with car choices. So just thought I have a bit of a challenge this time round, and it was good fun. The Corvette, just mid-speed, especially at sunset, and turn 1 were big issues for me today. But it was good fun to drive though, something a bit different to what I normally drive.
If it's any consolation, Ryan, Marcel Keith was also caught out by Sunset Bend amongst numerous others that found their fate at the fabled corner. I don't want to rub salt in wounds too early on. I appreciate we're still in the midst of the race with about 25 minutes to go, but was there a moment in that race where you thought you could have won it?
No. I mean, it's, as I said earlier, the virtual energy was the big problem for me. Just with how competitive the Corvette's been over the last few months, and it gets BOP'd. You can't do it. So my strategy going into this was to try and save as much as I can, which it was working, but I just got no pace against the Ford of the Beamer, unfortunately. But it's how it is, unfortunately, with BOP. But we look forward to the next event. May go up to LMP2, I think, now. I think it's time. Some people have said, try LMP2, it'd be great. So I may jump up for the next event, move away from the GT3s, and see how we get on for the next event.
Very nice.
I mean, my final comment from me, Ryan, is I know you gave yourself a challenge, but I think you did commendably, mate.
Yeah.
So well done. Honestly, super commendable effort.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, chaps.
Absolutely fantastic. Ryan, as much as it might have been commiserations for you today, there was still a lot to celebrate. And again, a massive celebration for taking the car that was a little bit left field. The only one to run the Corvette today, and certainly proving that you can drive quite possibly everything that you're thrown into. We wish you the best of luck for the next race, and who knows where we'll end up with the luck of the draw here on Le Mans Ultimate.
Thank you, chaps. And as always, great commentary duo as always, and good production again for LMU. So thank you.
Thank you. Ryan L83, everybody. Fantastic to chat to him. Unfortunate, I think, at best to see what happened to him out, and what could have been is going to be the question I think so many people would be asking. Because as much as he may not have believed it, I think there was a small hope and a small glimmer of a chance that he could have won it all today.
I think so as well. I think he's downplayed his chances quite a lot, because I think he was well within his rights of going for the race win. I'm also really glad he got the invoice we sent him for saying good commentary. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Now under half an hour, well under half an hour to go in this race. Razin's risen the gap to 23.4 seconds. And I don't want to play devil's advocate here, TK, in the grand scheme of all things fuel saving. But I don't think Razin's doing enough at the moment.
I don't think so. Again, I'm going to try and do some napkin maths here, because he's on about 30% of energy. If memory serves, a little bit low, maybe 28% of energy or 29%. So 30 divided by 4. is 7.5. So that's how many laps they can go. 7.5 times 2 is about 15 minutes. He is definitely not making this to the end without a splash and dash.
No, I completely agree. He's going to have to be scrub tyres and a cheeky trip to the pit lane, unless he is the absolute, well, unless he's a fuel-saving god of some description, as Alex Lynham gets passed by an LMP2 car. The gap at that front of the GT3 class has slowly been whittling down. It's now under 1.5 seconds. So in the daytime, it was all about the Ford Mustang. In the nighttime, the BMW has roared into life, gaining 10th after 10th after 10th, corner by corner. And the run through the Gurney corner towards the hairpin turn. Now that gap will get tantalizingly close to under a second. And Alex Lynham, all the while, with predatorial instinct at his disposal, smells blood in the water, and in a big way.
That he certainly does. He knows the game as it stands. He'll want to try and win this on circuit. Of course, we are not expecting any penalties to come the way of the drivers. I wish we could see just how many warnings each driver has got, but I don't think we can. There's no facility for us to be able to keep that insight on the way forwards. But of course, with Sebring being how fast and flowing it can be, it's very easy to get an off track and very easy to try and carry that forward and continue on through the race as well. So we watch with eager anticipation as you see flashing up ahead with all the drivers just getting themselves accustomed to flowing through the field. We're approaching towards the 20-minute mark. We've unencumbered 2 hours already, and our drivers know they are in the final stages of this race. See Busiv there, getting past the BMW, who dives for pit road. I'm going to try and figure out who that was. I'm going to assume that might be Chesnoid Gaming. It's our 3rd pit stop for the afternoon, because he went really early on the fuel from the race start here.
I believe it is. I believe it is for Chesnoid Gaming. Another pit stop. Pit for as long as you want. George Morgan get P9. I'm not saying that in a biased way, but, just help him out here. Alex, again, I was just watching the body language of the BMW. Great throughout most of the corners on this track. Extremely good throughout Sunset Bend, apparently. Gained 3/10 until the mid-phase of that corner. The one corner he's just struggling a little bit with the brakes of that car is, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, the Gendebine Bend, which is the penultimate one before the Le Mans curve and the Ullman Straight. So that's what he's got to deal with to try and properly catch up. Still goes 4/10 faster than the leader of the GT3 class, being Busiv Motorsports. As into the pits comes Ricky 03. For context as well, in the LMP2 phase of things, it's all interval gaps. So that means Michi Hoyer has no pressure from behind whatsoever on Nick Huben, N95 Racing. Davide was the only driver left on the lead lap in the LMP2 class, now just about gets himself back into that conversation. There's only 4 drivers left on that lead lap. Razin leads by 26 seconds. His last lap was a 48.5. Michi Hoyer did a 50.1. Razin's last lap was only 4/10 slower than what he's done the best of all race. And again, not to play devil's advocate, but I will reiterate, I don't think he's doing enough.
Absolutely. I think he's going to have to go for one small dash at the end, and that is going to be more than 25 seconds worth of stop, regardless of whether he takes an ounce of fuel or 5 kilograms of fuel. 25 seconds is too long for a pit stop, and I wonder if Razin's got himself into this mindset here very early on when the gap was only 19-20 seconds between the two of them, and he's gone, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be able to fuel save to the end here. So he's actually had to throw the alternate strategy out the window. Go, I've got to push. I've got to push for, what is this, 10, 11, 12, 13 laps. Use all of the fuel in my tank here. Go lap after lap after lap and hot lap this situation and hope and pray that either a mistake dwindles itself in for Hoyer or he pulls enough of a gap that he can do that pit stop successfully and then either stay ahead or re-chase Hoyer to the nth degree to race end it. They're the two situations that I think he's been facing, and I think he's gone for option B of just put his foot to the floor and don't lift until he sees God or a checkered flag.
All the stipulations in the Racing Chai court. Looking to see what his lap time is as he crosses the line again for what will be his 69th lap of the race. As into the pits comes Grid Jokes as well to refill the fuel and all of the rest of the gubbins that he needs, maybe new tyres as well. The Pondon Dond car will be out onto the track as we approach 9 o'clock local time in the context of this game. Racing Chai across the line, a 48.8, 7/10 off his best lap time of the race. Michi Hoyer at a 49.7 as we see Alex can't drive in the number 2 car. Behind him, again, got very, very Larry indeed. A spot of lawn mowing for Alex Can't Drive. He can mow, though, that's for certain. Safso is up into P7, and I will say this again. Safso's had a pretty decent crack at the whip in this race. He's always questioned about his fuel saving. In fact, it's exactly what his Twitch chat title is describing. He's going to maybe overthrow Grid Jokes here. He does get past Grid Jokes. Into the top 6 goes Safso. Plenty of energy to make it to the end, and the answer is yes, you did get the fuel right.
Stunning move from Safson again, going back to the days of old that we've seen so many times before. 17% fuel now left for our current LMP2 leader and race leader Razin Chai. 27 seconds is the gap, a further 24 back to Holborn as well. That's going to be Nick 95. So lots of gaps opening up in the LMP2 field. No one necessarily close to one another, apart from maybe Grid Jokes on the back of Safso. We just saw that overtake on screen a few moments ago. But actually, Tom now a lap down from Davide in 4th. So that's 4th and 5th separated by the better part of a lap here at Sebring as it stands. Drivers, of course, still will need to enter in towards the pits. And 16% on virtual energy for Razin. It's 41% in Hoyer's car behind. It's I can't even think of a word. A massive gap between the two levels.
I thought you were going to go for cataclysmic gap.
That's what I was trying to say. I just couldn't. My brain was not braining it.
No, you're right. It's a catastrophic scenario that Razin's got to face. Flashing the light, saying, "Don't you dare get in my way, sunshine. I am running to you, running to the race win." That's the plan. That is the only game plan he has in his court. Nearly 30 seconds is the gap out in front. The maddest splash and dash will occur about maybe, 12 minutes from the end, maybe even 10 minutes from the end. As our producer quite rightly says, brother is hemorrhaging fuel. You are quite right there. I have a feeling a splash and dash will be on the cars, though. Again, only 3/10 off his best lap of the race compared to Michi Hoyer, who is just over a second off him in terms of overall pace. This is where it gets very nip and tuck.
I'm trying to do some more napkin maths. Again, dangerous up on the moment, but I'm looking around at drivers that have maybe got the lowest fuel usage percentage, and that is at the moment Alex Can't Drive, 3.4% per lap. And I think even if Razin did that for the next number of laps, it wouldn't necessarily go the way. Grid Jokes has found the barrier, though. The Podnomobile, as Sunset Bend, has claimed yet another victim here in Sebring. The car gets going again as we get a replay of the situation. Is it going to be that inside bump that unsettles the car? It absolutely is. And it's one that is so easy to unsettle these cars that rely so heavily on aerodynamic grip. Thankfully, didn't tap the barrier and or that other LMP2 car that was flying their way past. But it's you try and take the inside line through Sunset, and there's just a bump that unsettles the car, and the moment it's gone, it is so hard to recover because of how fast you're travelling through that section of corner.
Well, ahead of him, I will say, as he came pirouetting round Sunset Bend, was our main man in commentary corner, George Morgan. So I'm willing to wager that the sheer aura of the McLaren driver has put Grid Jokes into a spin, and I commend him for that. As we look at N95 just going through some lap traffic at the front of the field. Alex Lynham, you're wondering, why is he 5 seconds behind? Well, Busiv has been on the charge, ladies and gentlemen. He's found his mojo, and he's going to take what should be, not to tempt fate here, but should be a relatively straightforward win to success here in Sebring, and no less than he deserves. He's driven a brilliant, brilliant race. The only real trouble he had to face was being battered by Tom Biener at turn number 1 as he tried to lap the GT3 driver. Other than that, it has been smooth sailing.
I've got questions as well about the fuel levels of both Nick 95 and Davide. So 3rd and 4th respectively. If my maths is correct, drivers need about 28% worth of energy to get their way back towards the line. That's my initial assessment. I'm going to go off the fact of 17 laps, 2 minutes lap roughly. So 7 laps worth of race to go, 4% a lap. That's 28% worth of fuel needed, if my math checks out. Maybe if you're going 1 lap down, it'll be, 24%? But either way, they're lower than they need to be by my calculations. So it'll be very nip and tuck for 3rd and 4th at the moment as to whether they make it to the line. And if so, it'll be a lot of Lyco from those cars.
Meanwhile, someone who's not Lycoing whatsoever is this man, race leader Razin Chai, who has done nothing but plummet the fuel into oblivion. Now at nearly 8% fuel left, and he's putting in faster lap after faster lap, gap now over 30 seconds. So we'll see now, has he done enough? Has the pace paid off in spades? Can he regain the track ahead of Michi Hoyer, who went on the scrub tyres to pile on the pressure, knows he can get to the end of the race on this fuel. Does not matter how hard he pushes from the end now. He knows he can make it. Of course, he has the ballast, but that's not really the point. He's done extremely well to put himself in this position. Razin, I think, has until the end of this lap to really plummet the pace, and then that will be the end of that. That is all he can do. Many flashing lights. Again, it's a BMW driver. Keep it to yourself, man. There's a time and a place as Michi Hoyer rounds Sunset Bend for what will be his 71st time in this race. Gap at 32.5 seconds. And this, arguably, could be quite close, TK.
I think it'll be very close at the end of this race. Just to note as well, further down in the LMGT3 field, George Morgan has come back in towards the pits for his final splash and dash. And also, we are expecting Quest to also need to pit. He's only got about 7% left of the virtual energy on board of that Ford Mustang. If they cross the line, they'll probably have one more in them until they will have to come in towards pit road. They were yellow lights, so they were yellow lights. Did they learn how to indicate? No, is the answer. It's just... No, they didn't install them on the race cars and all the road cars 9 times out of 10. It's a very, well, minimal difference. We watch here with Razin Chai, again with eager anticipation with this LMP2 car, trying to figure out, A, what he's going to do, because we're at, what, 3% of energy. He'll have to pit this lap if he wants to try and make it. You do see him there, hug the right-hand side. So Razin Chai in towards pit road. 11 minutes 30 left on the race timer's clock. Let's see where Hoyer's making his way through, because this will make all of the difference.
This is big, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten your seatbelts for the roller coaster ride of a lifetime. Razin in the pit lane versus Michi Hoyer. 30% battery, can push all the way to the end, has thrown caution to the wind. That is foot to the floor from the man that started on pole position, the man that is donning ballast in his LMP2 car. Such was the extraction of potential that he needed to have. Razin's only just entered the box. This is going to have to be the maddest splash and dash. And dare I say, I don't think it's going to be enough. Michi Hoyer has done more than enough. Calculated it to perfection. Razin escapes his pit box as quickly as possible. But blazing into the lead goes Michi Hoyer with 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes left on the clock, and then almost blazes it into the back of George Morgan, which we would have not been happy about. Gap is 8.6 seconds, will be slightly less as Razin will find his mojo immediately out of the pit lane. But regardless, well, race leader, done everything he needed to do. Played the endurance game to perfection.
Absolutely. And with 8 laps, well, 8 minutes, 10 minutes remaining, averaging, what, 5 laps, Razin will have to be, I think, according to my maths, about a second and a half quicker every lap to even catch up to Hoyer, let alone overtake. And that is a monumental task to try and drag down with you. It's been so controlling for Razin Chai. I think he just made the wrong call at the end when it came to fuel saving or trying to push, and that's a car off to the extremities. That's one of the BMWs. Just taking a quick lawn mowing lesson here at Sebring, learning from the best on the Valtteri Bottas course of lawn mowing. We have got Grid Jokes bringing out the yellow flag for the briefest of moments. The driver in 7th place at the moment, donning the number 6-7, still makes their way around Sunset Bend. And again, I think it's that final corner still causing issues for Daniel.
And yeah, it is Sunset Bend. Once again, rears its ugly head on so many. I was going to say, I thought this man from Xenix Forge Racing, Devin Allen, finally got his man of F1 Max. Conjoined twins for most of this race in the BMW cars. He thought he'd finally got his man. No, you hadn't. Lawn mowing trip and back down to P5 in the GT3 class you go. GT3 win is pretty much out of the conversation. Boosive Motorsports against F1 Alex. That is a battle that has been won by the Mustang camp. Under 10 minutes to go. Razin Chai is still catching. We've got to bear in mind, I think he's got the new tyres compared to Michi Hoyer. He somehow still has less energy than Michi as well. So I don't quite know what's happened there. But anyway, regardless of that, gap now 7 seconds. Razin will fight this to the bitter end. Closing in all the time. Grid Jokes is off once again. Again, no physical damage, just emotional.
Yeah. Engineers come over the team radio, asked him what damage he has. He replies talent, and yeah, just the rear just stepping out on him. Does well to not allow the tyres to lock up too much, minimising what flat spots are going to be unencumbered on towards that car, as he has a couple of bits of traffic just catching up to the back of him. The BMWs in the background. We watch on board now. I believe this is going to be on board with Davide. It certainly is the purple monster that is left out on the circuit, just making his way up towards Sunset Bend. Hopefully, for his sake, could be a rather clean run through the final corner. Because again, I don't think they're making this the end. It's going to be very close for 3rd and 4th, both Davide and Nick 95. they're going to be able to do maybe 2 laps at this until they have to go into the pits.
Razin is 1.6 seconds a lap faster than Michi Hoyer at the moment.
Ooh.
It's not going to be enough, but it is quite close. There is quite a lot of margin and pace that Razin's got to play with, as Michi Hoyer is being held up by some traffic. It is the number 2 car, I believe that's Alex Can't Drive, has let him dutifully through, does not want to interfere with proceedings, but that gap now under 7 seconds. He's got plenty of pace in the tank. If he keeps on going like this, there will still be some pressure applied towards the end of this. Don't count Razin Chai out just yet. This could get spicy.
I'll tell you what, Carl, I'm counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket because I think Hoyer's got this in the bag. It's a tough reality to try and ascertain, but I think he's going to do this. Razin Chai, again, too little too late to try and charge him down. There's a difference between catching and passing, and we say this so many times. Hoyer, when he's raced in races gone past in the Creator Series, we know how strong he is at defending. He's one of those drivers that is just, to put it politely, a pain in the arse to get past. He'll make his car as wide as possible. And I watch him race on LMU, ACC, and all the other sims, iRacing as well. And he's just a really difficult driver to get past, in the best way, though. He does it sensibly. He's cool, calm, and composed every single moment. But he just doesn't want to let you in. A 47.5 for Razin Chai compared to Hoyer's 48.6. So again, 1.3 seconds to the advantage is Chai. But I don't think it's going to be enough as we watch on board now with... I'm trying to figure out which car we're on board with. Razin Chai, just getting past the same traffic that Hoyer's had to deal with. The gap down to 4.5 seconds and closing.
I'll raise you more than 1.1 seconds, 2 whole seconds Razin gained on that last lap. He is a man possessed after that final splash and dash. So I'll tell you what, we were questioning the game plan. He's flying. He's gained nearly half a second just in the braking zone. This is unbelievable stuff. Razin, flashing the lights immediately, says, don't you dare get in the way of my conquest. That gap is eroding at a rapid rate of knots. And it's about where you catch as well. Do you catch at the right time? The traffic in question, the answer is yes. BMW is well out of the way. Razin still with plenty of pace in the reserve. There's Alex Can't Drive up ahead, got dutifully out of the way of Michi Hoyer last time out. Razin, I have no doubt, will also be, well, if not on the blower, flashing the lights egregiously to try and get the number 2 car out of the way. That will halt progress, of course. Alex Can't Drive not choosing to get out of the way so early doors. Maybe another time, though, as we look to the number 99 car of Davide. He's got 2.7% left. He's going to have to box.
Absolutely, and certainly. We were trying to figure out where he is at the moment, just making his way towards what will be the entry into pit road. He's going to have to try and just make sure his engine's sipping the minimal amount of fuel that it possibly can do, because he's just making his way through, down Flying Fortress, straight down towards Bishop Bend, and now making the right hand towards Le Mans and what will be the pit entry. And there we go, in towards the pits is Nick 95. Davide will almost certainly follow. And we'll see that purple monster peel into pit road, and he'll have to hug the right-hand side, and does so very nice and smoothly. So 3rd and 4th, respectively, into pit road here, with just over 4 minutes left in the race. We go back to 2nd place on circuit, Razin Chai, who's still trying to chase down Michi Hoyer for the lead of the race and for the LMP2 category. 2.7 seconds is the deficit that he has to try and overcome, with just over 3 laps to go.
Look in the background of your picture, at the top of your screens, ladies and gentlemen. That is the headlights of the chasing Razin Chai, who has some phenomenal pace in the tank. Still with the traffic, and the last lap was 1.5 seconds quicker than Michi Hoyer, who's now put a GT3 car between himself and the race-leading chaser on a conquest for the ages. Fastest in class versus pole sitter in class. This is going to be a cutthroat conclusion to what has been a spectacular event. 2 hours and 20 minutes of racing. We've only got 4 minutes of racing left. But this is incredible, TK.
It certainly is one for the ages. It was Michi Hoyer that deployed an LMGT3 car like a green shell in Mario Kart. This is the lengths and the extremities that our drivers are going to try and make sure they win it all. They want to try and claim victory more than ever, because this is a brand new series for Creator Series. Only 2 events we've done before. This is the 3rd of that series. We expect more in the future, of course, but everybody wants to be the first at something. Safso was the first ever Creator Series champion. His name is heralded amongst lights here in the Creator Series Hall of Fame. and it is Grid Jokes once again, causing out a yellow flag. Round Sunset Bend goes Razin Chai, still trying to chase down Michi Hoyer in front, gets past the GT3 traffic, another BMW that seemed to be spawning like flies. We'll have a look at last lap times then. Razin Chai, a 47.8. Last lap time for Hoyer, 50.1. We're finding 2.5 seconds a lap here. Is Razin Chai? Will it be too little too late? Because I'm fairly sure we're on 2 to go here, Carl.
2 to go, I agree. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. You had to have it. It's a bit of a slow burner endurance racing, but when it lights up, boy, does it ignite as a car rejoins the track. On the left-hand side of your screen, the gap is now underneath a second. This is it. Ballast or not, these are the two standouts of the race. Michi Hoyer versus Razin Chai, who went for the splash and dash strategy. He came out behind on track, but he never ever gave up. Resilient is Razin. Boy, has he proved that today. Now he sees his target firmly in his crosshairs as they head onto the Ulmann Straight for the penultimate time. Let battle commence.
Razin Chai taking inspiration from musical heroes all over the world and just bowing down and saying, let me entertain you here this afternoon, as he now, after we all thought he was dead and buried, almost certainly having to take that splash and dash at the end, he's now within touching distance of Michi Hoyer, 1/10 and some change, as they try to push each other through, as they make their way down towards the Le Mans curve, on towards the Ulmann Straight for the penultimate time in this race. They'll run up towards Sunset. Razin Chai will have the slipstream, albeit limited in these LMP2 cars, up towards Sunset. Does he look for a move down the inside? He moves to the inside, not on this occasion though. He fakes it, he looks again. No, he's being patient. He's gonna wait to the final lap, I'm almost certain of it. Round Sunset Bend with 1 to go, Carl. It's Hoyer versus Chai. Electric Boogaloo.
Oh boy, it is. The look of love for P1 on the road. It's tantalizingly close. The one thing between Razin and his eternal Valentine is this man, Michi Hoyer, who we know defends so diligently. You can see how hard Razin is pushing the car, darting and dicing with death, clipping the grass on the right-hand side at the exit of turn number 1, aggressively showing the nose to the inside at the left-hander. They make their way through the Gurney corner towards the hairpin turn. Not close enough to make a dive just yet, although we saw Razin gain so much time. This is it! Down the inside goes Razin Chai. There's enough space left. The green machine can't get it done. Michi Hoyer has the momentum round the outside, but this battle is far from done.
How many track limits has Hoyer saved for this situation? How much can he afford to run wide in certain corners to defend from Razin Chai, who looks deep in towards Cunningham Corner, through Collier Curve and towards Tower, the long right-hander. The opportunities will open up down the Flying Fortress Straight, but it is Hoyer that still stands atop with 13 seconds left on our timekeeper's clock. The lights flash. They want everybody out of their way. The purple monster stands ahead as they head in towards Bishop, towards Le Mans Curve. For one final time, the double right-hander that will come at our drivers oh so quickly. It's Hoyer by the barest of margins, leading through Le Mans, up Ulmann Straight, and now the slipstream begins. The purple monster aiding Hoyer here towards the final corner, towards Sunset Bend. Surely they're not going to go side by side in this occasion. Hoyer and Chai separated by a toothpick, a piece of paper. Around the outside goes Razin Chai. He'll try and hold it. Hoyer has the inside line. This time the inside has been quicker. The Tiger line, and Hoyer wins the 2.4 hours of Sebring.
Absolute entertainment. Take a bow, chaps, regardless of who's taken the race win. Ballast or not, you cannot stop him. Michi Hoyer attracts the hollers and all the attention. Grid Jokes attracting yellow flags, but more to the point, what a spectacle these two have put on all the way through. TK and I really do need a holiday after that race. That was absolutely ridiculous. Razin, the late dash, the almighty charge, the conquest for victory. It didn't quite pay off. It was a move towards the final corner. Michi, with his wealth of experience in endurance racing, held his nerve, kept his line, and is a deserving winner in the same way Razin would have been by the same token. Number 95, Nick Hoban, he's already weaving on the straight. He knows he's done it. Davide's already crossed the line. Tom Biener's in 5th. Savso finishes a commendable P6. A whisker away from Tom Biener, according to the gaps. But through the final corner goes number 95, our final podium sitter in the LMP2 class. We wait for the leader of the GT3s, though. Busiv went and set the fastest lap. He rounds Sunset Bend for the final time, and draped in the darkness of the night, what a delightful drive it has been.
Busiv, absolutely stunning drive from themselves. 3 words, 8 letters. He wins it here in Sebring for the LMGT3 category. But what a drive from all of our drivers up and down the field. There certainly was a moment where we didn't think that was going to go the way of Michi Hoyer and or Razin Chai, and what could have been. You could almost describe him as the luckiest boy in the world at the end there, but it was too cool to call right at the end. But this time, it's Hoyer on top.
Count on me. 50 kilograms ballast. Does not matter. You can bet every single penny. You ever put the 20 quid on Michi Hoyer, mate, Blue Fox, it was close, but I'll tell you what, your return on investment is rampant. Well done there. Final classification. The top 10 looks like this. Michi Hoyer and Razin Chai went all guns blazing to the end, but only one can win. And it's Michi Hoyer with Razin Chai in P2. Nick Hoban in P3 with Davide in 4th. Tom Biener in 5th with Safso taking home P6. Alex Can't Drive, Ricky 03, Grid Jokes, and then Austrian Andy rounds out our top 10.
Your 11th place then is Busiv Motorsport, which was the lead of the LMGT3 category. It was then Alex Lynham in 2nd place, with Ethan Walker picking up a podium in the GT3. Sparks finished 4th with Fimex in 5th. It was 6th that went to Devon Allen. Formula Momo went under the radar and finished 7th. 8th place went to Quest, with 9th place going to Chesnoid Gaming. And George Morgan rounding out the commentary, finishing with 10th place. 21st down to 30th, though, here, Carl. Unfortunately, all DNFs, so we can read them out, and I'll split them up by order, not in terms of how many laps they completed. It was Ryan Littlemore, Scotty Douglas, also known as Scotty Designs, and Uncle Tukey that DNF'd for the LMGT3s, and the entire list of LMP2s that crashed out of this race. Davidator, CPO, Tyrrell Alexander, that's TTA, Arthur Marden, Nebwell. We got Marcel Kiefer, of course, the F1 sim racing driver that didn't have the best of outings here today. Emphatic, who I've been told is now devouring chicken wings like his life depends on it after having his gym workout come to a swift conclusion. And Jay Marsh, also known as Yours Sincerely, rounding out your 30 drivers and how they all finished up here today at the 2.4 hours of Sebring. What a race we have just had.
I think with Fabio as well, different animal. Takes chicken wings, eats the bone, snaps it clean in half. Different breed. Welcome back to our lovely faces, ladies. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal race. Again, LMU, you have to treat it with a slightly different light, I think is the main thing. You've got to understand that ultimately there is a bit of a patient game to be played. It's not going to be all-out action all the way throughout the entirety of the field. But ultimately, when it does get good, boy, does it get good. We saw it right at the death of that race. Razin and, I mean, credit to Michi Hoyer as well. Both of them put on such a scintillating show.
They absolutely did, and one that I hope will end up on social media, because what a fight we saw. I think if Michi hadn't have held it as tight as he did, or Razin was a little bit too confident on the throttle, that could have ended in a completely different way, just to see how everything ended up, because it was as close to call for you and I as probably the drivers that were sat piloting their machinery, because no one could have guessed how that was going to end up. I thought Razin had thrown it away when they weren't fuel saving in the middle stint there, but who knows how this is going to end up. We'll be able to chat to a few of our drivers in the next few moments as well, get their thoughts, feelings, and maybe some insight as well to what that was like to race in that, but we will have that in a few moments. Carl, if you could sum that race up, and I'll be generous, I'll say 4 words. How would you describe it?
4 words. Oof. I don't know. I think thank you and good night is a good one. It's a good set of 4 words, to be honest with you. I mean, that's everything you needed. Gratitude for the race that we had. Salutations, because what more do you need to say? There's everything we wanted and more.
Absolutely. I'm going to put my 2 cents in here. Him for the weekend. That's what I'm saying. And what a race, what we've seen. They all sung from the same hymn book today, and certainly one that I'm sure our drivers will remember and absolutely look back on with fond eyes. I'll be honest, I'll be the first person to put out that I don't like Sebring to race as a circuit. It's not my personal cup of tea. Other people do, and that's all that matters about it. But we will not be back here next time. We don't know where we're going next, actually. We'll wait news from the LMU gods in terms of Create Series management to find out where we're racing next. Spoiler alert, it'll probably be one of the circuits on the game. I can't see us going or venturing outside of it too much. But I can put a personal prayer in there. But maybe Monza. I like a bit of Monza on this game.
Bit of Monza endurance racing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go amiss, would it? There's so many iconic tracks as well that we haven't visited yet. Obviously,
I mean, Le Mans.
Exactly, you've got Le
Yeah.
Mans, literally clues in the name, but then you've got Silverstone, you've got Interlagos, Imola, just to name a few of the tracks on the calendar as well that maybe are shared with other motorsports, but for God's sakes, they're so iconic. So we've got such a roster to choose from. I can't wait to see where we head next.
Absolutely. Well, I think in terms of interview order, let's start us off, I believe, with our LMP2 winner. Surely we have to chat to Mitchie, see what's going on. We'll chat to the GT3 winner after. We'll go in that order, kind of bouncing back and forth from one another. But hopefully, we'll get Mitchie in the next few moments, have a chat with him, and ask him a few questions about how that was going, because there was a lot that I want to try and unpack from that situation, especially the last few laps where maybe he thought it had a hoping chance to try and drag it down. But see if we can do... Oh, there we go. I've been told I'm allowed to drag him in for an interview. Lovely. I'm grabbing him by the collar. In comes Mitchie Hoyer. Mitchie, first and foremost, massive congratulations on the win there. Talk to us about those final few laps and just what was going through your head.
It was crazy. I was more confident about me being in victory lane in the end, like until 10 laps to go. I was like, yeah, Rasen's going to come out with like 10 seconds and just 6 or 5 laps. It's going to be fine. I've had the pace delta all the time. I was looking to see how quick he actually was. But then when he came out of the pits, I got intimidated by traffic in the final turn. And then like there were 2 or 3 laps of bad traffic. I was like, oh boy, now I have to deal with it on the last lap. And that is when things really got tasty again. But yeah, eventually I survived one attack into turn 6 and could place the car. Thankfully, no more traffic in a smart way for the final turn and actually get away with the closest ever gap I witnessed after a 2.4-hour race. So that was crazy.
No, a truly phenomenal effort, mate. Congratulations. Just to talk through tyre strategy as well, obviously there's the dilemma between picking new tyres and scrub tyres. So what order did you go in and what benefits did you see from what you turned out with today?
I was debating a lot during the first and what am I going to do, whether I change the left-hand side tyres on the first stop and the right-hand side tyres on the second stop. What was clear for me not to do is take all 4 in the second stop, because when the track temperature drops, it's just so much more harder to get them up to temperature. So eventually, after also seeing a little bit of an off balance from front to rear, so I was like 7 or 8% worse on the rears compared to the front, I rolled the dice and I was like, you know what, I'm only gonna change the rear tires at the first stop. I'm gonna go home with that. And that gave me like a super planted car for the last 2/3 of the race. In hindsight, not the freshest rubber, but if I would have taken more tires all around, I'm not quite sure whether I would have made up all the time in the end, and still come out ahead of Rosin, because track position was key in the end to be ahead, and that's what I planned this tire strategy for.
Absolutely. And, you know, going back to the start of the race as well, you qualified rather well. You were up on the front row. And from the race start, it looked like you dropped to just a number of positions. What kind of happened there? Was it the weight penalty? You felt it a little bit more right at the very start? Was it you just genuinely got caught off from the start line?
Maybe I haven't had the quickest reaction time, but it is the 50 kilograms that have slowed us down. So the acceleration out of a low RPM range, the car's lazy, the engine's lazy. I was down on top speed compared to everyone else. I had longer braking zones and had worse acceleration. And that obviously did show immensely on the start. You are kind of right, though. The first 2 or 3 laps have been a little bit dodgy left, right, and center, so I wasn't quite well dialed in and going for it in a good way. But to lose the place, like on the sprint to turn 1, was mainly down to the weight penalty that I carried all race.
I think final thing from me personally is, of course, we've had 3 events in Le Mans Ultimate now, 3 of the best, made them pay. Question is, for the 4th one, where would you like to see Le Mans Ultimate go next?
You mean within Creator Series?
Yes.
Yeah, in Creator Series.
I think a 2.4 hours of Le Mans with a 10-time race time multiplier, so that we get a 24-hour cycle.
Yes.
Could be something. What I would also love to see is the same for Spa, but with a 66 car grid. Put LMP2s, put hypercars, put GT3s. will be utter madness, but great for the content. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
Apart from that, I don't know. I do like the race format. I know the thing is, Le Mans Ultimate is quite special when it comes to how the cars drive, how the physics work, and so on. And it's very easy to be caught off with rain and stuff. But I think that throw that into the mix, and then it becomes unpredictable. And my absolute last and ultimate one would be put in a manual safety car if you can. Use one of those slots for a manual safety car and like throw it on a big thing, and that will screw everything up for sure. It's a bit hard to monitor because you could, like a code 60 or something would be appropriate as well, but you don't want to make it that big that you need to start put in a proper race control, and then the discussions will go if someone capitalizes on pressing the button like 2 seconds later or whatever. So we don't want to over-engineer this, but that could be potential thing for Creator Series, which would be worth it.
I like that. But still the unsafety car from the iRacing side, which I think has been a massive success over the course of that history. But Mitchie, again, just a massive, massive congratulations. Taking it quite literally at the final corner and holding on to the win. You should be very much proud of yourselves, and looking forward to the next one when we have you back.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Mitchie Hoyer, everybody, race winner and the LMP2 category winner as well. Fantastic to hear from him right at the end, and interesting to hear just how he was kind of calm until those final 10 laps when Razin actually really started to show his true pace after that splash and dash. I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought he'd be panicking until Razin took the stop and then calm at the end, but it was kind of that vice versa.
Yeah, I think he knew in his head that he'd planned the strategy to supremacy. He knew exactly what calculations he'd made. He knew he'd make it to the end. He'd think the offset would work, but I mean, like I say, ballast or not, Razin was a man possessed out of the pit lane after that last stop. It gave us a hell of a show at the end, so credit to both of them.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone from one winner. We'll head swiftly over to another winner. We'll drag in Boosted Motorsport. And Carl, I'll let you kick off the questioning with them and see just what their race was like from their perspective.
I shall indeed. Boosted Motorsport, welcome in. Congratulations, you're the GT3 category winner at the Sebring 2.4 hours. First of all, summarise your thoughts and feelings. How are you feeling?
Oh, tired, sweaty, and hot. But yeah, it's good. It's a good race. There was some incidents there, which obviously I was very lucky. I think, especially the second incident with the LMP2, where we got nearly spun into the wall. Just managed to keep out of the wall and keep our wing.
No, you did a supreme job. Sorry, I've butted in. My apologies.
No,
but you did a supreme job despite that. I think at the end of the day, you clearly had a plethora of pace in that Mustang. I asked Mitchie Hoyer, who won LMP2, this. I'll ask you the same thing in terms of the tyre strategy. How did you go about approaching this race from a strategic perspective?
Well, obviously my aim was to save as much fuel as possible, and I think that helped me in the long run, tyre-wise, as well as also having a couple of extra laps on Ryan before he DNF'd. And I think that helped us just get that lead and then just settle into the race furthermore. Yeah, and that was just basically keeping our heads down and trying not to get involved in any incidents or spin ourselves.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and it probably is so far back in your mind at the moment that you might not remember it. Ryan L83, Ryan Littlemore, obviously having his incident in the pit lane. What point did you find out about that, and when did you realise that was only going to increase your chances of getting the win here today? How did that feel?
Well, I saw him going to the pits, obviously on the Delta, on the the relative, and then the next thing I know is Ryan's left the race or whatever it said on my crew chief, and I was like, what the hell's gone on here? Oh. And then someone in my chat came in and said he had a bit of a misdemeanor in the pits. Apparently missed his pit box or something.
Yeah, his wheel disconnected completely, so it kind of drove him into a wall.
Okay. Well, I was gutted though because he was starting to catch us. Because obviously after he had the incident, he managed to get within. I think it was about 2.5 seconds. And even though I did have quite a comfortable lead at that point, I did want to have a bit of a battle towards the end of the race, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
Also, that final stint, of course, you had F1 Alex trying to chase you down in the BMW. Did get close, but not close enough. How did you manage that stint? Was there a genuine lack of pace, or probably the latter is mostly true, is that you had it completely under control, it was just management?
Yeah, so I was struggling a little bit in the first half of that last stint with the traffic. They were kind of slowing us down a little bit. And then I had a look at how much fuel I had left, and I was like, because I was fuel saving at that point, and I was like, I'm just going to get my head down now, I'm just going to fully send it. And then I started getting some pace, and then I started realizing I was starting to not run low on fuel, but it was going to be pretty tight. So I started to fuel save once again, and my pace actually improved from there on. And I think Alex's tyres, I think in the BMW, they drop off a bit towards the second half of the stint. And that's when we started improving our pace, and I think we set the fastest lap time, I think, a couple of laps at the end. So yeah.
Absolutely. And then, final one from myself. We asked this to Mitchie just a couple of moments ago. So we've done 3 rounds here for Le Mans Ultimate. We've had Spa, we've had Sebring now, and we obviously had Bahrain last time out. Where would you like to see us go next for the Creator Series if you had the choice?
I'd like to see a bit more of a competitive edge to it, if that makes sense, because it's kind of just guys racing around for fun at the minute. I'd like to see a bit more like esports style competitiveness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very fair answer.
Just more competition, basically, because there's obviously like 3 of us that were pretty close in GT3s. I like to see 5, 6, maybe 10 cars pretty close in pace.
Very, very interesting. Well, everybody, Boosted Motorsport race winner in the LMGT3 category. Boosted, it's been fantastic to chat to you, and we look forward to welcoming you back next time as well.
Thanks, guys. See you again.
Thank you so much. Well, 2 races, 2 race winners, 2 completely different pictures of a race story that they painted here, Carl. How do we describe this? It really interesting to see the difference in their stories, effectively.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you. And to raise that as well, in our 3 events, we've had 3 different race winners in both categories. In Belgium, we've had Taco Man, we've had Tom Biener, and now we've had Michi Hoyer. In the GT3 class, Alex Lynham, Brian Littlemore, and now Boosted Motorsport. So that is 3 of the best in both classes, along with 3 of the best tracks. We really have made them pay. That is quite the deficit. But, I mean, who knows where we go next? Maybe we'll have a 4th different name to add to that collection. Razin came second now twice. He's got close, but not close enough. Could he finally break the duck next time?
Who knows? Depends on circuit, I think, for Razin. He likes certain ones. We'll see where we end up for the next races. We've got 2 lots of podium sitters, I believe, sat ready and waiting to have a chat with us. Both Razin and, I believe, Nick in for the LMP2s. We've got F1 Alex and Eve Walker in for the GT3s. I reckon here, Carl, we drag them both, or two and 3 respectively, at the same time. We'll have a big group discussion and talk about everything that's went on. But I'll let you pick whether we go LMPs or GT3s first.
Gosh, let's start with the LMP2s. Let's start at the top.
LMP2s. So that is going to be F1 Alex and E Walker as well, both. And hopefully E Walker will undef. But if not, we'll start with Alex. And again, Carl, I'll let you kick off the questions.
Thank you very much. Alex, welcome in, mate. P2, congratulations. Just talk us through that race. Seemed like maybe a bit of a slow burner at times on your end, but still a good result to bring home today.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a slow burner. I don't think I obviously qualified P2. Lewis was was rapid. You know what? I noticed he was quicker fuel saving than he was when he pushed. So for example, the last stint, he at the start of the stint he was slower and I was catching. And then I was like, I hope he keeps pushing because I'm actually quicker than him when we're both pushing. And then I saw his fuel and thought, he's going to start fuel saving soon. And as soon as I saw him start fuel saving, he gapped me. So I didn't quite understand that. But I think I was just overdriving. I was tired. I was sweaty. But it was good. It was good. P2, we take that. What happened to Ryan? Because 1 minute he was there and 1 minute he wasn't.
Don't worry. Tom's got the answers for you.
Yes.
We managed to grab an interview with Ryan midway through the race. And he was having wheel disconnect issues all throughout the course of the race. And as he came into pit road, his wheel disconnected again, drove him into a barrier. His shift stopped working. It was having a bit of a mare all around. Unfortunately, couldn't get the car going, so retired from the race. And didn't see it.
No, I don't like celebrating someone's downfall.
Here we go.
However, it got me P2, so get up there.
Well, you know what? This is a perfect tangent. I think a great opportunity to swing across because talking. Celebrating other people's demises. E Walker, welcome in. I think for the first time to the commentary box, P3 here in Sebring. I've lost all train of thought. Obviously, you got there through Ryan's demise, but you had a fantastic race nonetheless. How does it feel to be up on the podium?
Well, I'll say what Alex said. I don't like preying on people's downfall, but it's benefited me massively. So I guess I'm happy.
Very, very fair. And of course, from your point of view, was it a bit of a quiet race, or was it always the case of I want to try and chase down just in case something happens at the front three? Or was it kind of you caught off guard when that incident happened to Ryder, you had to then be reactive to it?
Most of the race I was driving around myself. Had some good battles along the way as well. I tried to race the top three, but they were just too quick. So yeah, I tried my best. And I'll take P3.
As you should. A question to the floor for both of you. We've raced in 3 different venues in Le Mans Ultimate so far in Creator Series. So it's been Belgium, Bahrain, and now Sebring. When we come to round 4, if you'd like to see the Creator Series go to another new venue, where would you like us to go?
Go on, Walker, you go first.
I think Le Mans.
Ooh,
why not?
Second vote.
Good start. That's a good start. Alex, over to you. What do you think?
Well, I think we save Le Mans for when team events come out, so we can have teams.
That's a very good idea.
I love Michi Hoyer's 10 times the time. Love that. I was having a think, actually. Funnily enough, I was driving around thinking, I don't think I've seen or battled anyone all race. So I was in my own little head and I was thinking to myself, imagine if we didn't tell anyone the track until the practice session. That way, no one's got time to practice and we might get closer racing. That was my thinking. In terms of a track, Portimao. I fancy Portimao.
What a shout.
It's a tyre killer. There's going to be lots of tyre changes, lots of different strategies. People trying to go. Sorry, I've got TK on my screen and I'm watching his face. I can see his face and he's put me off. Portimao. There we go.
An excellent pull, I must argue. I've raced on LMU as well. It's great.
Yeah.
Can't anything further. Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude on your questioning.
Nothing. I was just saying this man knows wheel. So there you go.
Yeah.
But no,
very fair.
That's all from me. Congratulations to the both of you. Yes, it might have been someone else's demise, but I'll be honest, you're punching the air, so who really cares? Well done, you two. Smashed it. Good
Thanks,
job,
boys. Have a good evening.
Guys.
Ciao, pleasure to speak to you. See you next time, hopefully in the commentary box as well. F1 Alex and Ethan Walker, also known as E Walker, your P2 and P3 finish in the LMGT3 category. So the time has come to speak to Raz. Now I need to just bring the tone down a little bit. I want funeral vibes, just to remember what could have been, not once, but twice. We've got to be really solemn about the whole situation and remember that.
I'm just gaining my composure.
Yeah. It's mind games. Just calm yourselves down a little bit, because not once but twice has Razin bottled a win. We must remember that. Be sensitive in our questioning to him. So we'll drag him in, and we'll just we'll drag them both in, just quietly. Hope Razin undeafens, and we'll play the slow and quiet game with them. Razin, how does it feel to bottle not a singular win but 2 wins in a row?
You guys are funny. No, it was a fun race. I mean, I can't really complain. I opted for a different strategy. I said at the start, at the beginning, I always want to do the free stop. I just find it more entertaining for myself, and I think overall the content for my stream and the broadcast. Yeah, I could have done something like and done a 2-stop on tour. That race would have won, but let's be honest, it's probably better. I did. And yeah, I mean, fair play to Midgie. I mean, he managed to still hang it on with a 50-kilo ballast, and yeah, just went unfortunately a bit wide at the final corner, and I got stuck on a bump, which wouldn't let my car turn, and that's what I do immediately. As soon as I did that, it was over. But no, it was fun.
That was super drive, Razin, honestly. When I saw that gap whittling down at the end, I was like, he's got a chance. This is it.
Yeah.
He's actually going to break the duck. I'm so sorry it didn't, because that was, honestly, either way, it was electric entertainment from the pair of you, so well done. Tyre strategy-wise, what did you opt for today? What was your ultimate go-to when it came to the free stop?
Yeah, I mean, I only took tyres once. So I took it my second stop. First stop, I opted not to take the tyres because I wanted because I knew I was taking a free stop regardless. I wanted the tyre offset for the final stint against Mitchie because I heard he took the tyres in the first stint. So that was the only time I took tyres, but then yeah, every time going into the pits was trying to maximise the gap, especially that final stint before the slash and dash. I had to properly push to get a gap of at least 30 plus seconds, so I knew I could claw back the time to Mitchie, which obviously I did on the final lap, was just finding an opportunity to get him. But yeah, I mean, it was a great battle, great race, and I can't really complain. It was fun.
Absolutely. I think that final 3 laps or so, my voice almost went commentating on it because it was just side by side. But I think quite possibly one of the best finishes in Creator Series history. I'm making a very bold claim, but it was so perfect. And yeah, as much as the fuel saving could have maybe got you an easier win, as the drama was just so fantastic. And yeah, really well played.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I said on my stream multiple times, I said, look, it's going to look a bit boring right now, you know, leading from start to finish. But I said, the final 15-10 minutes of when we do the splash and dash, that's where everything's going to kick off. So, you know, you're on for a long ride, get your popcorn, enjoy it, because it's going to kick off at the end. So.
And Nick, we got you in the booth as well. Obviously, fantastic race from yourself here. Lots of DNFs in the LMP2 field, including Marcel Kiefer, who we thought was probably going to come in and be a really strong contender today. Obviously, looking from the start of the race to the end, was there any moment in there that really changed how you thought you were going to finish? Was there ever a point where you gone, okay, now the podium's really on?
For me, it was most that I was feeling that I could fight for the win. And then at some point, we had the first pit stops, and I just messed up as soon as Resin went into the pits. I went a bit wide at sunset, and I just spun it around, almost crashed my rear end, and almost DNF'd myself as well. But I'm very happy to be on debut getting a podium, so I can't really complain about that.
Congratulations on the debut podium. Smashed it, honestly. Pace looks super, super strong as well. I think also, I'll echo the same question I asked Razin, and that was tyres. When did you take tyres? What was your optimal strategy play out for today?
I honestly went in without a strategy. I was like, okay, we'll just go full push and we'll see when the tires give out. But yeah, I messed up on my in-lap and my tires lost like 40% in total. So I was like, I'll take it with the first pit stop. And then seeing I still had 80% left with the second pit stop, I was like, okay, I can take these to the end. So I only changed them in the first pit stop that I did.
Very. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to echo the question that has been asked to all, I think, doing maths here, other 4 drivers that have been in this box so far today. To both of you, what would you like to see? What venue would you like to see Creator Series head to for the next LMU event? I appreciate, Razin, you're in a little bit of a biased situation being in management, but we'll pose the question anyway.
I mean, Nick, you can go ahead first.
I mean, I definitely love Sebring, so I am very happy that we did this one today. But if I'm looking at the other tracks that are still possible, I would say that Fuji, the classic version, is a very interesting one to me. And the same with Barcelona. Barcelona is still very recent, but I've loved it so much racing on there. So I would really like to see how that would go with Creator Series.
And Razin, same to yourself as well. We'll ask you the question.
Amazing. Yeah, I think either Barcelona is a good shot because it's obviously a new DLC track, which I think could be great. But I think Silverstone's also quite a nice one for these type of cars and motocross racing. Le Mans obviously is the big one. Hopefully, we're aiming for team events to be allowed by that time when it comes out, so we can host a longer race. That's the plan. But yeah, I think Silverstone and Barcelona are probably the top 2 in my opinion right there. I'd want to stay. Fuji, I'm not the biggest fan of personally, but hey, you can deliver well. You can still deliver well.
Go for it.
Again, I will say, elite wheel knowledge on display from the 2 in the pen with us. Absolutely excellent stuff.
No, I must say, it's been fantastic. We've had so many different answers to that. We've had Portimao, Le Mans, Fuji. We've had Interlagos, Silverstone. I think I'm missing probably a couple as well. We've had Barcelona as well. We've had so many different suggestions. So it is interesting to see how each person's favour just shifts a little bit. But I must admit, Barcelona would be a fantastic race. The 4 hours there recently was a lot of fun. But Carl, anything further you'd want to ask either Nick or Razin before we let them get on with the rest of their evenings?
All good on my end. Just a final congratulations to the pair of you. Congrats on the podiums. And Razin, you will get that race win soon. We love the entertainment. Keep going.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so
very
much, both of you, for hopping in.
Well,
Nick and Raz and everybody, podium sitters in the LMP2 field. Always good to speak to both of them and see how the race was going. Hey, if we're racing next time, I'm taking Razin out if he's winning. I'm putting that on record right now. Like, he's not getting a win.
Absolutely
It's-
shameless.
Yeah, like, I'll get banned. That's absolutely fine. But I think for the story, for the plot, it's
the
doable,
content.
right? Yeah, content, exactly. It'll do
Well,
millions of hits. I stopped Razin at his first ever LMU winning Creator Series.
And here's how I did
Headlines.
it.
Yeah. Headlines. That is millions of views right there. Don't do it, folks. Don't take people out intentionally. I should probably leave that one on the table. But back to serious mode. It has been fantastic to bring the third LMU race here for the Creator Series. And Carl, alongside you, pleasure as always to share the commentary box with you. Where can the lovely people at home check you out if they want to do so just a little bit more?
Oh, I'll tell you where they can't find me, ladies and gentlemen, and that is sidewinding through the streets of Sao Paulo. You won't find me there. But where you will find me, ladies and gentlemen, is at my name, just down there. There. Carl Poranic. It's an easy name. If you type it in, you'll probably find me there on most platforms, including Carrier Pigeon. TK, a pleasure to share the box with you as well, my friend, as it always is. Where can the lovely people find you on an
Well, I'll
interweb?
tell you where they can't find me, and that's tickling troublesome trombones in the train depots of Toulouse. I've been kicked out of all of them, unfortunately, so no more of those. But you can check me out at They Call Me TK, just below my name there. Sometimes with an underscore before it, sometimes not. People keep stealing the nicknames I choose, but hey, that's what happens when you get a little bit late. Don't forget to check out our producer behind the scenes as well, Sappytron, also known as Ben, been an absolute legend behind the scenes, making sure it all runs nice and smoothly. Give him a big whoop whoop in the chat. That would be much appreciated. All the Creator Series socials as well are just below lovely Carl to my left-hand side. You've got Creator Series GG on YouTube, Instagram, X or Twitter, and TikTok as well. Go drop all of them a follow. Keep up to date with all the latest Creator Series news, clips, reviews, and maybe some chaos content coming away from today's endeavours. But until we see you next time, whoever knows when that may be, probably Thursday for the Indy 500 on iRacing. From all of us here at Creator Series, good night and God bless.